6 seasons of the How to Barbecue Right Podcast. That's a lot of talking, Shell.
That's a lot of talking, more than I'm used to.
I thought we'd be doing good to get through one in a little closet, and now look at us now. This is the best of season 6.
Enjoy. So London Brawls.
London Brawls. Man, I was wrong about what a London Brawl came from. I knew it. Hey, I knew it was beef. Man, that's been Yellow Kitchen days. I do.
6 years ago.
I probably need to. I probably hadn't cooked a London Brawl since.
So we talked about it last week, like we didn't know what it was. Turns out you have a whole recipe about it.
I have a recipe on how to do them. Turns out you marinate them and grill them and serve them, rare across the grain. That's pretty much my MO for beef. They're serving beef rare, seared, or braised, like cooked down like brisket or chuck roast or something like that. I'm not an in-between guy on my beef.
Yeah, for that London Brawl recipe, you tenderized it with a jacquard.
Yeah.
You seasoned it with AP. You marinated it for a minimum of 4 hours with barbecue sauce, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and some garlic. Took it out of the marinade, steak rubbed it, 2-zone fire on a big green egg. Once it hit 110 on the slow side, you seared it, and you said until it hit 130 to 135.
That's medium.
Yeah.
That's a little much for me.
Rested it. And then you sliced it. The pictures looked really good.
Oh, yeah. They were. Imagine that. You took them. Was those Yellow Kitchen days or were those Tan Kitchen days?
It was Tan Kitchen days.
Had to be one of my earlier, like when I first got my big green egg. Had to be one of those early big green egg videos.
But
I quit.
Very memorable.
I know why, I don't cook a lot of London Brawls now, because before then you didn't see flat iron steaks in the grocery stores a lot. But we started getting flat iron steaks, and it was a thing. And that's what I was probably confusing it with it, because the flat iron, I'm pretty sure, honestly, now I'm confused myself. I don't know if the flat iron comes from the shoulder or not, but I could have swore one of them come out of the shoulder cut. But flat irons, they're a little bit smaller than a London Brawl. Typically, 1 pound to 2 pounds is a big flat iron. Yeah. Cook them the same way. I usually tenderize them, marinate them, put them on the grill. And I usually sear those hot and fast.
Well, they're thin.
Yeah, they're thinner. But man, they're good.
That London Brawl from the old recipe, it was a pretty thick cut of meat.
Typically, the London Brawls are usually 3 or 4 pounds. It's a pretty good sized piece of meat. And it's dense. It doesn't have any fat on it. Yeah. It's just good meat. I did. I got I got a grill because we were doing some stuff at camp and I needed another grill down there. And then they said, you want another one to cook with at home? And I said, I ain't had a new grill in a long time. Yeah, I'll take one. So I'm cooking on it too. That's what I cooked that Walmart prime rib on it. I've got a recipe.
What, at Christmas?
I'm pretty sure that's what I cooked it on.
Mm-hmm. No, but the one we cooked for our.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you rolled that Traeger right out of the way.
Well, I had to move it somewhere.
Park the grill in its spot.
Nothing wrong with the Traeger. It's a great grill. I just, want something new.
I love that Traeger grill. It's been my favorite grill we've ever had.
The 1300?
Yeah.
The old school one.
Yes, the one that I've cooked on the most.
I don't even have the new one at the house. I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah, the brand new one. Yeah.
We've got one we can't get to run. And I'm a Traeger dealer. I don't know what's up with this. Got rid of my main man. My main tech man that I call, he's gone. So
yeah. But anyway, I'm interested to try out that new Grilla. Is it Silverback, right?
Yeah, it's Silverback.
Yeah. See if I like it as much as I like the Traeger.
My only drawback to it, I wish it was the size of that 1300.
Yeah, it's a little smaller.
I need more space. Yeah. To get started in a pellet grill, I highly recommend them. Price point's awesome on
What is the price point?
Give
me Google it.
$7.99 or something like that for the basic one without the Wi-Fi. I think. Yeah. Delivered.
I was about to say around Christmas time they were doing like a deal that you could get that and their flat top.
They got a flat top or a propane top or something that they're selling. You could have got 2 in 1 for like $1,000 or something like that.
Crazy deal.
But yeah. No, they're good. They're great cookers. We've worked with Grilla before.
Yeah.
I've known the guys for a long time.
We had a Kong.
I had a Kong. Yeah. I still got a Kong. I just let Uncle Pookie cook on it. He's playing with it at his house. I know where it's at if I need to go get it.
Yeah.
Well, I got a green egg, so
And you don't really use the green egg.
I'm looking for some more grills. I'm ready to roll some more out, get some new ones. The way I look at it, you gotta be flowing new ones. Yeah, if I'm gonna cook recipes and share them with people, I gotta cook them on different grills. So Yeah, what's the next one I need, y'all? Y'all let me know.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You're adding to the collection.
Yeah.
Please send all emails to Tyler at
Yeah. I mean, that's right.
And I mean, we're
I'm
playing.
not saying I'm going to cook on that griller forever, but I'm going to cook on it while it's new.
Yeah.
You know,
Wear the new off of it.
wear the new off of it. I put them to the ringer, and I'm honest. You know, if I don't like something about it, I'm going to let you know. Why? I mean, why not be? You know what I mean? I'm not going to say, oh, this is the best grill ever. You need to sell the one you just bought and go buy this one. No. I mean, if it cooks, it cooks. But I'm going to be brutally honest about it. I'll tell you this. I hooked that grill up to the Wi-Fi first time, and that joker works everywhere.
Really?
Like, I have had zero issues. I can turn it on.
And you've never been able to connect with some of the other ones.
The Traeger one never did get connected. The Memphis grill, I never got it connected.
Yeah.
They overcomplicated things. Like, don't want to find the right Wi-Fi. It's like it's right there, like inside the window, right there. Grilla found 5 Wi-Fi networks. I was like, oh, it ain't that one. It ain't that one. Definitely ain't that one that says FBI surveillance. I don't know whose that is.
We do have like a neighbor that's got theirs.
It says FBI surveillance.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing's picking up frequencies.
Yeah.
But it picked up, my signal was strong. I mean, and I did like that about it.
Yeah.
I can turn it on right now. You can pull my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
From here?
That's the only one I know of. You can start it. And I don't know if that's good or bad, honestly.
I know. That seems
Because I can see people like, what if that thing fails at night?
It climbed up in there.
Yeah, what if the cat's done got in it? What if, I really think the instructions should be go open the grill, make sure it's clear to light before lighting it. Because just being able to cut that joker on, like, I mean, I know what they're thinking. I'm like I could get up in the morning, prep me a bud or something. I know I want to get it done at a certain time. I can go ahead and sit it on the grill, maybe an hour, hour and a half or 2 hours, and then start it up. The weather's right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I can have it hot and ready when I get home. But you probably need to put your camera on it and check that, dude. Make sure nothing's in harm's way. I've seen those videos of them like building up pressure from not lighting, and then it does light or something, it blow up.
You always tell me to keep it open until it gets lit or something.
I've always done my pellet grills like that. I don't like. I want to see smoke coming out.
Why?
Well, because I want to make sure I got good clean ignition instead of just building up gas in there.
Gotcha.
Because if it's getting trapped, I mean, how
kind
else?
Of gas is it?
Or I don't know. I'm just saying, what causes those grills to blow up like that?
Yeah. This week you cooked a boudin king cake.
I did. That was our video this week, and it's kind of. I was thinking something along the lines of a football food, something that you could serve at a party. It is Mardi Gras time, and you see king cakes have hit the grocery stores. You can order them online, but nobody up here has got the boudin king cake.
So
it's like a Louisiana thing. I mean, you can get them down there.
Where'd you get the idea originally?
Originally, probably from Boudin Brad bringing those boudin kolaches to barbecue events. And basically it's like if you've ever had a kolache, it's like a pig in a blanket kind of thing. It's a, pastry dough wrapped around a sausage. Well, he had a lady that was doing it with boudin sausages, and he would bring them to barbecue contests, throw them on the grill on Saturday mornings, and bring his buddies that were cooking around one of those warm boudin kolaches. And so I just said, man, that would make a good king cake. I mean, it's a thing. It's like I didn't invent it or anything. I was just trying to make an easy version of it. So to me, it made sense to. Now, I've never had, like Brad's, the ones I've had never had the cream cheese in it. It was always just like sausage surrounded in a dough. But I took it a step further. It's like when I order a sweet king cake, I like the cream cheese one's the best.
Yeah. Strawberry
cream cheese, regular cream cheese. They make these different flavors. And I said, well, since we're doing savory and I know cheese is good in it, why not like do a crawfish cream cheese where you just dump some crawfish tails in, stir it up, season it with a little Cajun seasoning, a little hot sauce, spread that down, set your boudin on top of it, and then roll it up and bake that.
And you didn't do any sort of pastry, like
no. I mean, I wasn't about to try to make a dough that was as good.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, I guess, if you really got a good pastry recipe, you want to go to all that trouble. Those buttery crescent, the buttery savory crescent rolls, it was dang good. I mean, it was super easy. You just take like 3 cans of them and arrange them out in a ring. You did not
have any sort of like
method
or plan.
No, you just unroll them and just kind of start over, just shingle them around. You just got to know that you got to, you're kind of trying to stay in the middle of them because you got to pull the edges up and over. So you can't put a whole lot of stuff, but I put a pretty good trail of the cream cheese crawfish mixture. And then I took the boudin, and instead of just putting cold boudin on it, I took it out of the casings because those casings can get kind of tough on boudin.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you see people eat them, they squeeze the meat out as they eat it on a cracker, with hot sauce. But I split the casing, unwrapped it, had the pit going 350 where I was going to cook on, and then put the sausages on there for 10, 15. I think, Tyler, you said a 15-minute timer, didn't you?
Yep.
And that was, I didn't check the internal temperature, but you're just heating them back up.
And
I just wanted to give them a head start so it wasn't something super cold because I knew the pastry would cook, and I wanted everything to be really good and melty and creamy and hot on the inside. So that's why I did that. But it also lets me break it up. Like the lengths of sausage don't fit perfect. You got to kind of arrange it. So I would just break a chunk off, spread it around, Then I wrapped it all up. And it don't have to be perfect.
Yours was.
Yeah, it can have little gaps in it. You just want it mainly covered. That's the way a king cake kind of is when you see one. It's not a perfectly baked pastry.
Yeah.
It's kind of rustic. And that's what this one was. It was just on the savory side.
Yeah, yours was not perfect by any means. When you topped it and did all the other stuff, it looks really good.
With a king cake, they'll put frosting all over the top. They'll put the different colored sugars. So you're covering up a lot of those imperfections. Well, I said, I'm not going sweet. Now, some of the ones that I've seen from places you can get a savory or a boudin king cake, they cover it in syrup. They have steamed syrup. It's like I guess it's a cane sugar syrup they make. It's a big thing in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And they'll crumble up bacon and put on top of that. That's their topping. So it does have a sweet element. And I can see, I've seen it with pepper jelly. Like you can melt pepper jelly, warm it up, drizzle it over it. I can see that being good. But I wanted to go even cheesier.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want the sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I want the savory savor.
So I said, what would be better than a cheese dip? And let's take it a step further and make it a crawfish cheese dip drizzled over the top. And so what I did was, how could I do this easy? Well, I put half my package of crawfish tails on the inside in the cream cheese, and I saved half of those cooked crawfish tails to go in the cheese dip. And then I just bought some store-bought cheese dip. You could use the white, the yellow, whatever brand you want. Ponchos, Arbos is what I used. But any kind of little queso that you can buy at the grocery store will work.
Make your life real easy.
Yeah, easy. So I sauteed up a little, I guess 3/4 of a Trinity, a bell pepper and onion. I left the celery out. You could have put the celery in if you wanted to.
You could have done anything.
I just didn't have any celery. So bell pepper and onion, sauteed that down, added my crawfish tails, turned the heat down.
Garlic. You
threw a little garlic in there.
Yeah.
Seasoned that, a little king crawl, a little hot sauce. Added my cheese dip and just let it sit off the heat and stay warm. Just kind of come together. The pan and everything warms the cheese dip up. Because if you keep cooking it, it's going to get super thin. You don't want it super thin, but you want it to run.
Yeah.
And when the king cake got done, it was 45 minutes at 350 on the Grilla smoker. You could have cooked it in the oven you want.
Would your time have changed if you would have cooked it in the oven?
You're not worried about time as much as you are as when that thing gets brown. So on a pellet grill, they're not going to over brown anything. The oven may over brown it, so it might take 35 minutes at 350 in your oven. But on a grill, it's probably not. It's probably going to lean more to that 45-minute mark. If you did want to check the temperature, it needs to get back to 165 because there's sausage in it. But I didn't worry about it. I just knew that because I cooked it the week before. It takes, 45 minutes on grill. But I do recommend, if you cook it, put it on a sheet pan, but then put something down like butcher paper, parchment paper, aluminum foil, anything that's going to not make it stick to the pan. Because if you're going to move it, and I do like the butcher paper or the parchment paper because you can easily transfer it to your cutting board, and you can cut on it and not have to worry about cutting pieces of aluminum foil because you're probably not going to slide it off that. And it looks, the butcher paper just looks better serving it.
It's what you do with pizzas. Same kind of thing.
Same kind of thing.
You're just using it to make it easy.
And you could have left it I don't see why it wouldn't have worked in a pizza pan, and you just leave it in the pizza pan if you wanted to.
So it comes off. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Brown. You got this delicious cheese dip with crawfish and vegetables in it.
Okay, well, what if somebody says you're using a Mexican style cheese dip with your crawfish?
I call it fusion. Would you have known that was like Mexican cheese dip? There's no way. Because by the time I put the Cajun season in it, the hot sauce in it, the crawfish and the vegetables, it just tastes like a really good crawfish cheese dip.
And aside from a few ingredients, they kind of have some similarities.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, if you wanted to take it, like if you wanted to omit that element, I would probably room temperature cream cheese block, add that to my
Your sauce.
my sauce with a little bit of cream or milk, just something to get it the right consistency. But you don't want it too thin. But you could blend in. You could easily blend in that cream cheese. And if you had any stuffing left over, I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't thin that down and make a cheese sauce out of half your stuffing if you wanted to. But trust me, it's easy to buy a thing of cheese dip and just do it the way I did it.
So you pull it off.
I'm going for easy.
Yeah.
So I pulled it off, drizzled, like ladled that the crawfish cheese dip over the top of it. I didn't get crazy with it, but you just kind of ladle it slow and let it run down. And then I took some pork rinds and crushed them up and sprinkled them over the top for my crunchy element because I was thinking, Louisiana,
It's a great idea,
cracklins.
yeah. I saw other
could have done
people using
bacon, but
bacon,
I could have done bacon, but I was like, no, I want that pork rind crunch. And they had some flavor to them too. They got a little heat to them. If you like a hot pork rind,
What pork rind did you pick?
those were sweet heat.
Brims.
Brim sweet heat.
That's
you
like
could
my
use
favorite
yeah,
pork
yeah,
rind.
they're really good. And some green onion, and that's all. That was like sliced green onion for the garnish. It's ready to go.
And it made it pop because you had those crawfish in the sauce, that were sticking out, and then you
They
had
were good.
the green color and the crunchy little cracklins.
Yeah. I got asked, like, could you substitute anything for the boudin if you can't get boudin or you don't like boudin? And I was like, yeah, well, I don't see why you couldn't. You could use another kind of sausage.
You could use
andouille.
really anything.
I think.
Could you use a smoked sausage?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, it's going to be a little denser.
Yeah.
Breakfast sausage. So if you wanted to brown up some breakfast sausage and then whip that in your cream cheese, you could do that.
Oh, okay.
You could add the vegetables to it. You could add the crawfish, leave the crawfish out, add shrimp, whatever you want in the filling. Just don't go too much. That's the whole thing, because if you overstuff it, you're not going to be able to wrap it and it's going to ooze out. But the cream cheese and the breakfast sausage, like a spicy breakfast sausage, is delicious in one. Really good.
Yeah, I like that idea better than a smoked sausage because the boudin has a texture. Like when you cut into it.
Yeah, it's kind of like dirty rice.
Yeah, it falls apart in a good way.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you a lot of resistance.
That's right. So I'm thinking with the smoked sausage, it might be better to kind of dice it and then cook it in a skillet, get as much, render that grease off, give it little crunchy bits, and then put the trail of that on top of yours or mix that in.
Yeah.
If you did a whole one, it's going to be more like a pig in a blanket kind of thing. It's dense. I mean, it'd probably be good, but you're not going to have it. It's going to be a texture change.
Yeah.
It's going to be firmer.
It's not going to all kind of
That's
feel
right.
uniform. This week, you had a sausage seasoned ribs recipe.
So I was really rib hungry. I hadn't cooked any in a while. So I picked up some whole spare ribs from Kroger. Save a little money. Save that money. Like Dickie says. And trim them down to St. Louis cut myself. But I was so we do the sausage seasoning on pork butts.
So where did that
I've
come
done a
from?
recipe. It actually came from Martin Jamie from Swine Life. When they learned to cook like pork butts for fundraisers or church or anything like that, the guy that showed them how to do it used a country sausage seasoning mixed with brown sugar, like regular brown sugar.
And that was all he did?
That's all he put on them. He put it on the outside of them, cook them until they were, I don't know, pretty much done, like 180, and then wrap them and then finish them off until they could stick a probe just plumb through it, and then stuck them in a cooler and held them for several hours, and then they'd either serve them or deliver them or whatever, sell them, whatever they're doing. That's how they cook pork butts. So
That's
when
a
I met
pretty
them,
decent way.
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty standard, except for that sausage seasoning. When I first met them, they was like, "Yeah, we use sausage seasoning on everything." Sausage seasoning. I was like, "What are y'all talking about? Sausage seasoning?"
I remember you being like, those guys don't know what they doing.
I mean, you're putting sausage seasoning on pork. I said, "How can it be good? Because it's going to taste like." I mean, my mom's been making breakfast sausage. That's where my recipe come from for the seasonings that I have. But it's made to make country breakfast sausage. The kind you fry and serve with biscuits and gravy and all that. Never thought about putting it on meat as a rub, and so I gave in, tried their way. Absolutely delicious. It's different. It puts a dark bark. It's a pretty good bark on it, but it puts a darker bark on it. You don't get, and it doesn't look like competition barbecue. You know, It doesn't have that mahogany look to it. It's going to be dark, and it absorbs a lot of the smoke, so you get really good smoke flavor. But what it does for me the most is it brings out that pork flavor. You taste the meat, you can taste the smoke.
It gives it a nice savory,
and you get all that savoriness because when you think about sausage season, it's mainly salt and peppers, a little bit of sugar in it to balance it, and then they put sage and other spices and crushed red pepper and things like that. So it has a real savory tone without being, it's not a sweet tone at all. It's just enough sugar to balance it. And so the reason why we don't use straight sausage season is because it would be way too hot. Because the stuff's pretty potent. I mean, it's made, like 1 pound of that seasoning will season 25 pounds of meat sausage. And so if you think of that sausage flavor, that's pretty strong, So we just use it and cut it with, I like cutting it with turbinado instead of dark brown or regular brown sugar because that tends to burn. And I think I can control the darkness if I use the turbinado with the sausage seasoning. And you still get, it's not a sweetness, but it still plays with that savoriness. It offsets the salt some. So,
do you have to use any more salt or any other savory element?
No, you don't have to use anything else.
Just the sausage.
But I did get to thinking. So I cooked these ribs, and I cut them. I took the spare ribs to save some money, no joke. Cut them down, put the rib tips to the side. We'll talk about rib tips in a minute. But it's so easy to buy the whole spare ribs, and they're always cheaper than a St. Louis cut or the baby back, loin back rib because it's the whole slab. And I guess people typically don't cook the whole slab, don't know what to do with it. But it is the easiest. And I did a video. Man, that video blowed up on TikTok. But all you do is...
I hadn't seen how it did on the other platforms, but...
Oh, yeah. Have you watched it?
I have to double check on that. I know we're rounding 4 million on TikTok.
That's crazy. Just to trim how to trim a set of spare ribs. But all you do is you flip them over bone up and you kind of lay them to where the rib bones are kind of facing you. The rib tips are at the top. Go down that rack and go to the third or fourth bone. And you can feel it with your finger. It's longer than the others, and that's kind of where you want to make that line to where you make a straight cut down the length of the ribs, separating that rib tip from the rack of ribs. And the rib tip's great. It's got cartilage in it, and it's fattiness, but there's a lot of good meat there. Don't throw that away.
Oh, no, I love it.
But once you get it separated, you kind of got this. I say it looks like the state of Tennessee. That's just the way a set of spare ribs
yeah,
looks.
it kind of does.
Kind of has that long straight edge that you just made, and then it kind of tapers up. Well, I'll even them up. I'll cut off some of that tip where they're thinner because it's not going to cook even. I might take one bone off the thick end just to square them up. Then you got a perfect rack of St. Louis ribs. Usually 10, 11 bones is about the right size. And then you pull the membrane off or cut the flat meat off and then pull the membrane. And if there's any excess fat on the meat side, just trim that down a little and you're ready to go.
What is excess fat? When is it excess fat? Because you like to leave a little fat, right?
Yeah, but when it's like over a 1/4 inch thick, like a big fat deposit, all that's not going to render, and you're just going to have a fatty pocket in your rib. Now, if you're just eating these at home, that's fine. But like if you're doing them for competition or you want them to be perfect, I would take some of that fat out. Now, you don't want to create big divots in the slab of ribs. I try to just take it down even, slowly, and get rid of some of that fat. And if it's a little of it, that's fine. That's going to render, but you just don't want thick deposits.
Just kind of shear it
Yeah,
off the top.
yeah, and that's what I do.
Even.
Just use like a fillet knife, keep it kind of flat with the slab, and just slowly kind of grate it down to where you're taking some of that fat off in controlled cuts where you're just not gouging at it.
So,
And then a lot of times I'll take the tip of the knife and come back and kind of score whatever fat's left, make a little crosshatch pattern in it. That'll help it break loose. That'll help it render a little more as you cook it, and you won't notice it as much. Like scoring the fat cap on a pork butt.
yeah. I'm not a fan of scoring fat caps on pork butts.
Why's that?
Because it's harder to get that meat underneath. If you don't score it, you can just slide that fat cap right off. And you've got, to me, that's the best meat on the pork butt.
Yeah.
Is right underneath that fat cap. So
if
you score it,
in competition
it comes off in
cooking, you're
little
exactly
squares.
right.
Yeah.
But when I'm eating at home,
You want the little squares.
because I pull out them little plugs and eat them.
Yeah.
It's a little rendered piece of fat that kind of gets crunchy, and then you get you a plug of that belly meat underneath it or whatever, that's what we call it. And it all comes out as one bite. It's almost like you're pulling out a burn-in plug or something out of a pork butt. So I like it.
True. So, do the ribs become the St. Louis cut after the trim, or they St. Louis like it's the whole spares?
So
or?
they're the same. I guess I don't know how ribs got the St. Louis cut.
Yeah.
The name,
Yeah.
however you'd say that. I don't know how they did it, but they're not St. Louis cut unless they're separated away from the rib tip.
Okay.
And so basically, it's just a trimmed rack of spare ribs. So you got some history for us?
I do. So they call it the St. Louis style due to the fact that many of the packing houses of the country were concentrated in that area.
Oh, and
I
so
guess
that's
same
how
thing
they
about
were
Boston
cut and
Butts.
sell them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never seen them like sell the tips at grocery stores.
Really?
I don't know in packing houses what they do with them. Like, restaurants that
wonder.
sell rib tips, I'm betting they probably make their own rib tips.
Yeah, they trim it themselves.
They buy the spare ribs, they cook the slabs, and then they cook the rib
That's what we
tip
did at the
separate.
restaurant I worked at. So
You made your own? Did y'all serve rib tips there?
yep,
Okay.
we just cut it beforehand and then prepped it afterwards and cooked our own.
How would you serve the rib tips? Just smoked and sauced, or?
Smoked and just seasoned. It was I think Tex-Mex seasoning or something like that on it, and then it
Okay.
had like a spicy chipotle ranch with it. On the
Okay.
sides, you got to dipped it. They're pretty good.
Were they smoked or were they like fried or something?
They were smoked on the old hickory for
Okay.
a few hours,
Yeah.
about the same as the ribs, I think.
Don't sleep on rib tips, man. They're fine eating. I love eating them.
What do you typically do with your rib tips?
So when I make my rib tips, separate them off the whole rack of spare ribs, and usually I'll cook them whole. I don't cut them until they're cooked. Now you could chop them into pieces raw, treat them like individual pieces of ribs, but to me it's better to cook them like a rack. And so with that rib tip, it's got a lot of cartilage that runs through it. It's got some sinew in there. You're not going to get it all off. It's going to have fat pockets. There's some weird, real lean meat that's part of the loin or whatever that's been, so it's an odd shaped piece of meat. But I'll typically, put a binder on if you want to. You don't have to. I spritz these with cider vinegar and apple juice and then seasoned them and then start them out on the smoker just like the ribs. Once they get color on them, wrap them dudes up. Now you could add anything to the wrap. I just wrapped them in butcher paper with a little bit more spritz of the apple cider vinegar and apple juice and cook them till they're tender. And then when you take them off, they're easier to cut up because you can just take a chef's knife and cut them in like 3 finger sized chunks, and you've got a little piece of rib. And it's fantastic.
I love the rib tips.
I do too.
They got like
I don't mind gnawing around all that goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be some stuff left over, but when you're eating ribs, there's bones and the little knuckle left over on it too. So
Yeah, but there's a lot more like you call them floater bones.
yeah,
And the
floater
rib
bones,
tips.
pieces of cartilage.
But I think that's why the meat's so good inside there
I
because
think it is
it is
too. It's got all that deliciousness down in it.
yeah.
So I have a question
there.
from the TikTok comments about the whole spare rib. Like, what happens if you don't cut it and separate it before, and you just cook the whole thing at the same time?
So some people do that. I've
You have
seen
a recipe on that.
Yeah, just cooking a whole set of spare ribs.
Mm-hmm.
There's some restaurants even in Texas, I think they do that a lot of times. They don't trim them. There's nothing wrong with it. That's not as pretty a rib to me. Most time you think of a rack of ribs, it's a St. Louis cut or a slab of baby backs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the whole side of ribs.
Yeah.
I see.
But the old way to do it was always cook that whole side. But you might, more than likely, when you go to a restaurant serving that, you're not buying a rack of ribs. You're just getting a bone or two.
Yeah.
Because they're going to slice it off and it's going to have all that rib tip still attached. And with that, it's a wide bone. You're talking 12 inches probably, 10, 12 inches. So it's the full rib.
That is kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because you get a little bit of the regular St. Louis cut.
They're not
and
as
then you
pretty,
get
but
yeah, they aren't. But then
They're
you get
good.
the rib tippy, fatty.
yeah.
No,
And a
round
lot of
bone.
another thing they like to do with those rib tips is turn them into tasso for seasoning, like red beans and rice, gumbos, things like that.
How do they get it off the bone?
You just take
Cook
a
it
knife
and-
and cut it the same. You cut them into chunks first, season them with Cajun season, and smoke them till they're done. You're not worried about trying to get them mouth eating tender.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get them 180, 190 is fine with those. But you're trying to get some smoke in it, preserve that meat. Then you can vacuum seal it and freeze it, take it out. When you get ready to cut it up, you just chop it up. You're going to separate any cartilage or fat or anything like that, but then you're going to chop that lean meat up, and it's just a flavoring for any kind of dish that you
stews,
want to
yeah.
add some smoke flavor to. It's really good.
I wrote, I like the rib tips because you get to gnaw around the bone. I think the meat you gnaw around.
Yeah,
the bone.
it's better.
How do you spell gnaw?
GNAW.
GNAW. Okay, I put KNAW.
It's gnaw.
Good gnaw. So you cook these on a your stick burner.
I did. I cooked them on my Outlaw with hickory wood. Started me a bed of coals. When I got that cooked down, got the pit kind of warmed up, I just started adding splits. Hickory wood, running about 275. When the ribs went on, I usually go 2.5 hours, and I sell that. So it's like 2.5 hours in the smoke. Adding what is needed, spritzing is needed. I didn't in the video. I thought I had one of my big orange sprayers at the house. I don't know what happened to it. It disappeared. Michael may have done something with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always blame the kid, right? But he was at school, so I couldn't ask him. But I couldn't find it, so I was like, well, I'm still going to spritz these ribs. I'll just make a squeeze bottle. So I just took a water bottle and punched a hole in it, and it worked great.
It worked really good.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite part of the video.
Really?
Really?
Super intuitive.
Improvising.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I spritzed them. What do you think I spritzed them? After 45 minutes and then probably every 30 minutes after that.
Yeah.
Just making sure they stay, a little moist on top. I don't want to, because that's what's going to draw in some of that smoke flavor and help you build your bark. And then once those ribs.
What, the moisture?
Yeah, keeping them moist on top like that.
How so?
It just keeps them from drying out,
Absorb it.
getting too dark. It just helps it absorb it, keep it a little damp on top.
So by that theory, the dry meat is going to absorb less smoke
I mean,
than a meat that has a moisture on it.
it's just going to burn up and be tougher and drier
Okay.
if you don't keep it moist like that and let that smoke do its job. And you're still trying to build that even bark across it too. So, and once the bark gets built, it kind of does it. You've got it as dark as you want it across the top. That's when it's time to wrap. You've got all the smoke you can get at that point. Those ribs were, what were they? 165? Because I actually probed them.
Yeah, you did. You put
And
it
normally
on
I don't
it.
probe ribs, but I wanted to watch them and see what it did. So, man, I had the little short ThermalWorks probe right in between a couple of the long bones. Just make sure you stay in meat and just wrap it up in your butcher paper too. And that way you can watch them. There's no guessing. So when those dudes hit 204, I knew they were done. I just pulled them off. It took, another hour and 15 minutes, I think, something like that.
Something like
I always
that.
say about an hour, 15, hour and a half.
But you also kind of checked, just like your field test.
Yeah. I mean, if you can pick them up, so that's the first thing when I'm filling ribs. Before I unwrap them or no internal temperature or anything, when you pick them up and you can kind of feel them wanting to bend back and they're soft inside the wrap, they're probably, that's the first sign they're tender. Then you're supposed to unwrap them and kind of feel on the bones, probe them with something, see if they're soft like butter, so that's your telltales. But when you got that probe in there, it don't lie.
So you pulled them off.
Put them off, let them rest. I didn't let them rest as long as I was hungry. It was like, at first I was like, oh, I'm going to let these go 2 hours in the cooler. When I get done, it was like, I smelt them and felt them. And I was like, let's just go 20. Then it was like, all right, 15, let's go ahead and knock this out. So I just took them out. I didn't do no glaze, nothing to them, straight out of the wrap onto the cutting board, let them sit there a minute. Y'all took some pictures and then cut them up and tried them. And it was, to me, the first thing you taste the pork, you taste the smoke. Yeah. The smoke's subtle. It's not overpowering. And then you taste the spices from the sausage
But
seasoning.
it's not too spicy either.
I get the peppers. I get the salt just kind of balanced out. There's really no sweet to it.
Yeah,
I didn't get the sugar at all. I know it's there, but I didn't get it. And then I get a little bit of that herby saginess, just lightly. And that's enough to make that say, that's different. That's a different flavor than a barbecue seasoning.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good. Like I could see those, and I may have said that in the last podcast, but being like a brunch dish, ribs that way would be great with brunch. Because, it goes with, you can serve that with eggs. You could serve that with anything else, potatoes. It's not like you got to have slaw and beans to go with those ribs,
But to me, they don't you don't taste it and go, breakfast.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah. But I just think I think it'd be a really good fit for a reason to eat ribs for breakfast.
Always looking for those.
Yeah, if you need a reason to eat ribs for breakfast,
Use
sausage seasoning on them. Sausage seasoning, a little sugar. But it got me to thinking, okay, I did the savory one. That's the way, I really love savory ribs.
I do too. That's why I like those ribs.
What
as
if I
well.
wanted to create that breakfast rib? And I use the sausage seasoning.
Like a
But
rib
you also,
Benedict?
you come back with the glaze and you cook your jelly down. So you pick up on that jelly aspect of it and you put the butter in the wrap. And it would be an over the top,
breakfast
style rib. So I
But
may
then-
have to do that.
I like
Or
that.
pancake syrup on it. I mean, you could get out there with it.
I like the idea of doing a breakfast rib. I think that's interesting.
I may do those with baby backs,
Yeah.
because I hadn't done baby back ribs with sausage season. Let's try that with the jelly glaze or a maple. See, that really good Vermont maple syrup that we our
Yeah,
buddy
yeah.
sends us with those ribs would probably be excellent.
Probably.
I could see it.
I see. I like
Some
them.
Kerrygold or some really good butter in the wrap.
Yeah.
Get them really rich.
They recalled Kerrygold.
I saw, what's it? Got some kind of plastic in it or something?
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
kind of chemical or something, right?
I had to send it to Mark when I saw it. He's got stock in that.
I'm sure he does.
He
He's
better.
got his own butter fridge.
Yeah, he puts butter in everything.
Butter in his butter.
I liked him a lot. But
It's a good rib. It's
I
different.
like savory rib.
Yeah.
it was like a TX AP style rib
Yeah.
with a little more
That's the closest thing.
herbiness.
I
but
would
not in
say
a
it's
bad
like
way.
that Texas rib. You know
Yeah.
how I say they only do salt and pepper in Texas on
Yeah.
ribs? It reminded me a lot of that with some herbs.
Yeah.
A little
Just
bit.
a little more
Yeah.
back end flavor to me.
And the crushed red. I mean, it picks up on it. It's a different taste.
And I liked him dipping a little in the vinegar sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. You could definitely serve your sauce on the side.
Oh yeah, that's one.
And they
you
would be
needed.
fine to go back and barbecue glaze those if you wanted to. You could do that.
I liked them.
I don't know what the
Like a
sausage
fire.
season. Now I haven't played with this. Like sausage season is like your first layer of rub, like a light sausage layer, and then come back with a barbecue rub over it if it would clash too much. I don't know. I've never tried it, so that was the first time doing it on ribs. But I would do it again.
So, you cooked these on the Outlaw stick burner. What do you think about ribs cooked on a stick burner pit?
So I'm not saying it's the best, but the texture.
I agree.
Stick burner pits for texture is hard to beat. Taste wise, it's hard to beat the drum. But I don't get as good a bark on the drum as I get on the stick burner. So that's the trade off. But I'll tell you, some of the best ones I've ever cooked has been on a backwoods water cooker. Water cooker just does pork good, But I love the texture. I love the reason why I chose that is I wanted texture. I wanted that good hickory smoke without being too strong. Because a drum will get strong on you quick. Like
Yeah.
you can over smoke something on a drum. It's hard to do it on a stick burner when you're burning it as fuel. You're burning, pretty dry wood anyway, so it's not like over smoking anything. It gives it a great flavor and great texture.
I think the texture on it is. I don't think you can recreate it on any.
You can't do it on pellet grill. You can't do
Yeah.
it on, I can't do it on my egg as good as I can the stick burner or the drum.
So
I cook great ribs on a pellet grill.
yeah.
They ain't close to a stick burner.
So let's say I had 6 slabs of rib, and we cooked them pretty much. We cooked the exact same recipe, 6 slabs, but we used 6 different pits to cook these.
Yeah.
And you did a blind taste test. Do you think you could pick them apart and be like, that one's the pellet, that one's the stick burner, that one's the drum?
I could get the majority of them, I
Yeah.
think. Like there's some that are so close. Like between a pellet, a stick burner, and a drum, I think I could definitely pick.
Yeah.
You go to the old hickory versus the backwoods versus another, reverse flow pit or something like that. I don't know if you could get down.
Yeah.
You could probably get close.
I could pick the one that's on the gas grill.
Oh yeah, you
The one
can
that
pick
has
those
no
easy.
flavor.
But what's your favorite? What pit of all the ribs that I've cooked on different pits? Which one do you think's the best?
The stick burner and the drum. The stick burner texture is just.
It's hard to beat. It's soft. It
It
moves
is.
the right amount of air and renders it really good. I mean, it's hard to beat it.
And you can
A
get.
little more work running your fire, but
Yeah, but really, me watching you, I've been watching you cook on that stick burner, It's a lot less work than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it runs a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. There's no really fighting it, you know?
no, you just, as long as you get a bed of coals, that's the
Yeah.
big thing with them. Get your bed of coals and then switch over to your sticks and just watch it. And as your temp, starts to drop a little bit and the fires burn down, put you another one on.
But
It's that easy.
But the
that easy.
drum, when I first started using the drum, when I would cook competition chicken on the drum, it took me a while to get used to it because I'd overcompensate when it was starting to get high. I'd overcompensate for it, and it would drop it too low.
Just
you know?
fluctuating.
Yeah, I learned to make the smaller adjustments instead of the big adjustments.
And a lot of times we'd run that guru or fan on it, and it'd make it.
Oh,
make a
yeah,
drum
forgot about
run.
that.
That's cheating on it. That's cheating on the drum, ain't it?
Forgot about that.
You put that on there and dial it in right where you want. I don't think you can do that with a stick burner. I've never heard of anyone running like a draft system on a stick burner.
Oh, really?
I guess because you're in there adding sticks so much, it doesn't
It won't work.
doesn't work as well.
You need almost like a closed.
So, yeah,
Controlled
that's what it has to be. Pretty much a closed system. You could probably get it to work some kind of way. I don't know. Never messed with it, but
I will say y'all have ruined me with barbecue because I've tried like some of the best barbecue in the whole world. And so ribs has been a really hard thing for me to tackle, even on a pellet grill. That's what I'm trying to cook on right now because I feel like if I can conquer it on that, then I'll kind of switch over to trying it on the Weber. And it's just hard. Like it's hard for me because I have to go pretty much directly off temps right now. Like I can't. The timing's kind of down to where it's like 5-6 hours, depending on what I'm doing. But like the last ones I cooked, I came to y'all about it, where I cooked them pretty much perfectly to 202. I wrapped it about 160-ish around that area. I pulled them and then I put them in. So my first mistake y'all said was I put it in a Yeti cooler, and that was a no-go. And then the second thing is like I didn't let them rest at all after I unwrapped them. So they were just kind of cooking in that
never vented
foil.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been tough.
So you moved them from 250 plus degrees, probably on the pit, to the Yeti, which held it right there.
Yeah.
Because the Yeti is so insulated. Not that it's bad for holding meat, it's way too good for holding meat.
Yeah.
It doesn't let anything escape. I mean, you get one of those hot, and it's going to stay hot. So what I do, like, that rib comes off, I push it up there to 204, immediately vent it when you take it off. You've got to. You can't just go straight to a cooler with it because you got to let that hot steam out and let it escape. So that's going to cause the temperature of them to drop pretty quick. Letting them off vent. And then when you put them in a cooler, we come back and we don't always show that. When I say I rest something for an hour or two, I don't show that every 15 minutes you go back by and you open that cooler. You let some of that hot air that's built up out. If you don't, you're still cooking it. So that's the big thing. I guarantee you the next time, Tyler, when you cook them and you do that, you'll see a big difference.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And then what he was saying also is when it was after the rest was over and he pulled the ribs out, he just went right to serving them, right to cut.
Yeah, because they were falling apart on you, aren't they?
Yeah.
They were pretty much pulled pork at that point. I mean,
Yeah, they let go of the bones. They spit them out.
pretty much.
Did you have them meat side down in the foil and in the cooler?
Um,
See, that's a big thing too, because when you cook ribs that done and you store them meat up on that bone, especially like loin back, baby back ribs, they kind of have that arch to them. Well, gravity's pulling that meat away from those bones. That's why we cook them and leave them meat down until we get ready to glaze them at the end. But then by that time, we've let them tighten up, we've let them lock up.
Yeah.
Then we can handle them and flip them over.
come to think of it, like I'm pretty sure it was the wrong way, and then I know for sure there was one rack that was laying sideways. Like,
So it's definitely pulling it off. Yeah.
I just haven't. Hey, you got to go through those trials and tribulations to learn how to do it. So nothing wrong with it. I'm sure they were still really good. They were just off the bone.
Yeah, flavor wise, they were super on point.
Some people love fall off the bone ribs.
But after you've tried like a bite of y'all's Memphis and May, like
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
rack of ribs, like it's pretty hard to eat ribs.
Where it's on the bone, but as soon as you put your mouth on it, it just comes off and it melts in your mouth. And
but what'd you think about the texture on the deep fried ribs? That's totally not like a smoked rib texture.
See, like I liked them immediately, like right out of the
Too
deep
tough
fryer and
for you?
stuff. No, I thought they were really good.
we're going to talk about the deep fried ribs.
Yeah, we're not.
next
Gonna, I
week.
mean, I just wanted to get his take on the texture of them. So I did a video on those yesterday. It's not even edited. Probably not even back there in production yet. Rainy day, back deep fried ribs.
Yeah. You got to improvise in springtime
Yeah.
when it's like this. This morning we received some salmon in the mail.
We did. Was it David Ward?
Yes.
He's active in our community. He listens to the podcast. We appreciate the support. And so he does this commercially. He works for the company that makes packaged Alaskan salmon. He sent us some sockeye, super thin slice, just like you like it, the kind we were talking about.
Yeah.
That I want to learn how to do. And then it was some more of a fillets of king, wasn't it?
Yes. I'm very interested in that. And he said if it's done right, the little fatty parts underneath next to the skin on those king fillets or should be like.
Yeah, just umami flavor.
Very excited.
I also sent some reindeer summer sausage. I hadn't tried it yet, but I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, everything's.
Y'all did bust into the sockeye this morning.
Yeah.
I saw it open back there on the table.
It was really good.
Was it good?
Yes.
Did you need some like cream cheese and
a bagel and some capers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomato and onion?
It was fine just by itself.
Just straight salmon.
It had a real buttery consistency.
I cooked
it
salmon.
Almost melted in your mouth.
Really? I cooked it for dinner. I cooked salmon for dinner last night.
That's just your air fryer.
I'll put that up against anybody.
Shut that down.
Right? And it's good salmon.
It is really good. It is really good.
You need olive oil and king crawl. That's all you need on it. 400, I think I do it on 400 degrees for 11 minutes. And it's bomb salmon. Even if you don't like salmon, you'll probably like it.
Yeah. It's one of Michael's favorite things.
He ate 2 fillets of it. Like, we had 4. He ate 2 of them. I'm learning to like it.
I did see you watching some salmon cooking videos.
I have been. I've been brushing up on my skills, keeping up with the community, seeing what people are saying. It's all in, like I have everything down from I guess you call it a brine or the cure, where you sugar and salt it, put your stuff on it, put it in the refrigerator, let it draw the water out. You rinse it all off. You let it form the pellicle in the refrigerator.
What's a pellicle?
It's kind of like this film that gets on the outside, develops on the outside once it starts to dry, once you take it out of the cure. I'm not exactly sure if it's a moisture that does it on top or what it's drawing out of the meat, but it's like it changes the surface of the fish. And so it's kind of tacky. And what it does when you put it in cold smoke, it draws the smoke to it, kind of absorbs it and pulls it in. That's what gives it its flavor. So if you put it on there and don't let it, you're not going to get near as good a flavor, or your texture is going to be off. You're going to let that pellicle form first.
Is that kind of like the same process as like when you glaze a pork butt and you apply the sauce to it? The sauce absorbs the smoke so much better.
I don't know if it's part of the same, but yeah, I see where you're thinking, because it's like a sponge.
Yeah.
You put it on there like that. I don't know why it does it. I guess it's the nature of a glaze that does it too. But it's the same premise, I guess.
Maybe.
But yeah, I don't think you're not leaving pork out to form a pellicle to get it to absorb smoke.
It'll form a pellicle, but you.
Yeah, but so the smoking stage is what I have trouble with. One, we live in the Mid-South. Our temps don't stay low enough when I'm doing a lot of smoking. So it seems like it needs to be cooler weather type application, because you don't want that salmon or whatever you have it in, smoker wise, to get above 80, 90 degrees. And that's tough to do in North Mississippi.
Yeah.
You'd fight it to keep it down. So what I'm thinking about doing is using one of my smokers as kind of like the grate or the vessel to do it in, and then not building a fire like I normally would, like finding some kind of heating element or an outside smoke source to pump into the smoker so I can really watch my chamber temp to keep it down. That's what I got to do. And I might use an ice pan at some point to try to, I've got some different things I'm going to experiment with. So it's going to be total experimentation.
Yeah, this seems like a lot more difficult than I was expecting.
Then I watched some videos on how to slice it, how to get those paper thin slices. And one, you need a really sharp, thin bladed, like a salmon knife. But it's kind of like our brisket knives, just a thinner piece of blade. So if you imagine
have
those,
that one little.
I do, and I have I think it's a Messermeister little roast carver, but it's super thin blade. It's probably about 10 inches long. It'll be perfect for slicing thin salmon. But you start kind of on the thin tail end, and you make these angled cuts that are, I would say, 1/8 inch or less thick. like half brisket, so they're pretty thin. You don't want them paper thin, but you want them pretty well thin. Almost, thin enough where you can see the blade of the knife through it.
Yeah.
Because the fish is a little translucent. And you just make this angled cut, but you cut down to the skin and not through it. And then you flip that piece over and you kind of work your way down the fillet, slicing and flipping and slicing and flipping. And before you know it, you've cut all the way down the fillet of fish. You pick it up, kind of shake it, and they all go back to the right place, and it's ready to serve. Cut it off of it at that point, package it up, whatever you want to do. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, if I pull it off, I'll be pretty amazed. If I could do it half as good as the salmon that we got sent, it'd be a win.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to just start with some supermarket stuff or try to source some really good salmon, because I think that has a lot to do with it too. Like if you're in an area, say if you're in Alaska and you got access to fresh salmon, you don't get any better than that. Everything we've got's been froze at some point, I imagine. There's no how they're going to get it to us. So.
I've heard Costco's a decent place to source it.
Really? I bought it at Sam's.
I don't know how true that is.
Sam's has been, it's kind of hit or miss for me on salmon.
Yeah.
I've had better luck here lately at Kroger.
Kroger's got some really nice salmon.
It hasn't been fishy. To me, that's the key. If I want to buy fish, and that's why I like buying it from somewhere where they have like a fish counter, because I can say, hey, I want to check out that piece of salmon. Would you mind holding it up? That's all I'm doing, smelling it. If it smells like fish, there's any remote fishiness, I'm going to say, we're going to go, we're going to eat beef today. But if you pick it up and you smell it and it just doesn't have much smell, it shouldn't be much to it at all. But it definitely shouldn't be fishy. That's how you know it's fresh. So that's going to be my technique for it. You see me smelling fish at the store, don't think I'm weird.
Are you ready to give it a try?
Yeah, I think so.
This weekend?
No, not this weekend. It's Bloody Marys and barbecue. We've got some 4-H stuff to do Saturday. Might do a little shed hunting that afternoon, and then we'll fire up something and kick back with a beverage and see if we can find something on TV. Before we went to,
what do you want to talk about first?
I'm trying to remember the last one, the deep fried rib one hit on TikTok. That was I've done, actually who showed me that first? A version.
Oh, who? Do you want me to guess?
Yeah, I was getting you to guess.
Mark Lambert.
That's exactly right. We were at Memphis in May, and they wanted, I don't even know, I guess they were cooking ribs for the public. He just wanted something else to do with them. But what he did was, when we cooked
he probably had
these Memphis in May or MBN style contests, we cooked baby back ribs, and we always cut the racks down to like 9 or 10 bones, and so you have these outside edges bones. Well, they would take those and cut them into single bone pieces, and it would drop, rack of ribs like 13 bones. You'd always have 2 or 3 bones left over. And so they would batter them and then drop them in the deep fryer. And then when they come out, they'd toss them in tiger sauce and butter, which tiger sauce was an old rib wrap sauce that that was like, back in the day, that was in the recipe.
I remember.
Had to put tiger sauce in the wrap.
How would you describe tiger sauce?
A
buttery.
It's not buttery. It's almost like a pepper sauce.
Okay.
It's kind of sweet. It's kind of Asian-y a little bit, but it's not too Asian-y. It's good. It's like
spicy.
Yeah, it's like a not as sweet Captain Rodney. So it's got that chili flavor to it. Then it's got a sweetness to it. And then it also has vinegar to it too, because it's like a vinegar type sauce. So
it's hitting all the notes.
Yeah, it's hitting all the notes just to give your wrap some savory, sweet heat.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is, with a little chili flavor. But it makes a great wing sauce or tossing something fried in. And that's what Mark would do. They would toss it in that with I don't know how much the ratio, probably stick of butter and a bottle or 2 of tiger sauce and toss these deep fried ribs in it. And so it was raining the last day we filmed TikTok recipes before Tyler went out of town.
And it was our only day to
film. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do some inside stuff. And so deep fried ribs come to mind. We had a couple racks of ribs in the freezer. I thawed them out, just let them sit overnight in the refrigerator, pulled the membranes off the back, got my knife out, cut them all into 1 bone pieces, seasoned them with a little bit of AP on all sides, got me 3 or 4 cups of flour in a big Ziploc bag and put me some AP in that, season that flour, and then just started tossing 4 or 5 of those ribs in that flour, shaking it around, dusting off the excess and putting it back in a little raised rack. until they were all floured. And I heated me up some peanut oil, 350 degrees in my little double basket fryer right there on the bar in the kitchen. And, man, I fried them ribs up, and they were dang good.
They were very good.
Like, they're good by themselves, and it's not like a barbecue rib. These aren't fall off the bone. It's more akin to if you've ever ate fried pork chop that your mama or grandmama cooked, and it always had the bone in pork chop. That's all that is with the, it's same meat, same rib bone.
It tastes
So
like
it tastes like fried pork chop.
It tastes like you're gnawing on the
Yeah, the best part of a pork chop
Yeah.
because it cooks all that marrow out and you get the flavor on it, and there's meat all the way around it. So they're really good. But to take them to another level, you got to toss them in a sauce. So I did my version of it's kind of a sweet
Asian
Thai,
chili
sweet
sauce.
Thai Asian-y spicy sauce. So I start out with a bottle of Frank's sweet Thai chili, not a bottle, like a cup of it. It gets sriracha for some extra heat, gets some sweetness because of the sweet Thai chili sauce. I don't remember exactly everything I threw in, and I did the recipe up. But I got this recipe from my buddy Jim that would do wings this way. So that's how I kind of knew that it would be good on these deep fried ribs. I mean, it's got a little sesame oil in it. It's got a little soy sauce in it. It's got some ginger in it. It's got some chopped up little red chili peppers in it to give it some heat. It's got fresh cilantro in it. Little rice vinegar kind of to give it some acidity, kind of balance everything out. And you don't cook the sauce. You just whisk it all up. And then it's good to toss anything that you fry in, just like that tiger sauce would be. I didn't put any butter in it. I didn't think it needed it because it kind of stands on its own. It's a really good, sweet, heat Asian flavor sauce. So I tossed those in it. That was that's an excellent little easy recipe if you ever have like rib trimmings or anything like that, or if you just want to fry some chicken wings and toss them in that sauce.
How long did it take to fry the ribs?
Oh, like 10, 11 minutes. I mean, I didn't even temp them. I just kind of, when they quit, it's almost like when they quit frying, when you put something in hot oil like that, it just goes to frying. And then it kind of slows down. And then when it kind of just bubbling a little and they're kind of floating, that's done. I don't worry about. And they were juicy. I mean, they were juicy. They're pretty tender.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like pork chop.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe it. I wouldn't describe it as tough at all. It wouldn't like fall off the bone.
You know what would be good like that?
It's good.
The boneless country style ones.
I like
Because
the bone. I like no.
You like, I mean, I do too, but that would be a good little bite.
Yeah.
And I'm about tempted to do smoked pork belly bites. Don't do much to them all, like salt and pepper. Cut them up into cube, get them, but don't.
What do you mean?
Like
You're going to.
pork belly burn ends.
Okay.
But don't really season them barbecue or anything. Just put, like salt and pepper on them, AP or something. Cook them to where they're rendered down and they're tender, not falling apart. And then let them cool, toss them in the batter like the same way I did seasoned flour and flash fry them and then toss them in that Asian sauce too. I think that would be just an ultimate pork bite.
I think that would be so good.
Because you're getting the smokiness from it. And you can do.
And you're letting that pork belly render.
I've seen people do ribs. Now, I've never tried like to deep fry a smoked rib, but I've seen people like take ribs and cut them, smoke them in the rack, and then cut them up and then fry them. I mean, and I imagine they're pretty good. I've never tried them, but.
Well, I've had fried pork belly before, and a lot of times it doesn't render.
Because the fat's not rendered.
Yeah. And so it doesn't have that pork belly softness.
Yeah. So I would be just flash frying it just to get it crispy because it's already cooked and tender. But so if you put pork belly in deep in oil like that, just raw, it's going to, before you get it cooked down, it's really going to be a crackling.
Yeah.
It's going to pop the skin, the fat's going to get rendered. It's going to render down, turn into more oil, and then you're just going to have this. I mean, some of them are hard, some of them are kind of chewy, but it's not like the bite I'm talking about. I'm talking about a meaty, just a crispy bite almost.
No, I thought that I liked them before you tossed them in the sauce. I liked them just plain.
Yeah, just like
the
pork
sauce
chop.
took it to another level, but.
And you can do any kind of sauce you want.
good.
If you got a favorite wing sauce, man, play with them.
Yeah, you could do them just like wings. Toss them in, it could be buffalo. It could be, I don't know about garlic parm, but
but it wouldn't be bad.
barbecue.
Jerk.
Yeah,
would be good.
Jerk would be good. I thought it was would be a perfect dish for like a high end sports bar.
To have the option.
Deep fried rib,
Yeah.
tossed in a sauce. So Memphis in May, it's finally that time.
It is. Excited about that too.
Yeah, the official meeting is this weekend. We're gonna be out of town, but Mark's gonna go.
It's was it like 2:30 on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't be back in time for that.
We've written the checks.
Man,
We've booked the hotel.
I'll tell you what, Memphis in May is expensive. Might have to go take out some kind of 30-day loan or something on that to pay for all that
It's-
stuff.
It's steep.
The rentals was like 10 grand, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's steep.
Hmm.
That's tents, and I mean, you got to have tents. You got to have floor. You got to have.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to
something.
have floor at Memphis in May. You never know; it's going to be a mud fest.
And they take you for it. Yeah, I keep thinking it's winter, but Memphis in May kind of kicks off summer for us. So
Yeah.
we're,
I remember the first Memphis in May I went to with y'all. It was like beautiful outside. It was like on the river. It was like slightly breezy and stuff. And then the following year was just really rainy. It was last year was kind of rainy, and we had like the evacuation thing.
Oh yeah,
That was crazy.
you never know when you're going to get that in
but
Memphis.
last year, first it was like miserable hot one day.
That's right. Yep.
And then it rained and we had tornado evacuations. And then,
It's bad.
A little bit of everything.
That's to be expected. You're in Memphis, and I mean it's really not summer; it's spring still. So the weather changes. Just hang out.
you consider it spring?
Yeah, I don't consider summer kicking off to Memorial Day. When do you consider summer?
When Memphis in May is over, because it's like the next weekend's Memorial Day, you know?
Yeah.
And that's usually when the kids get out of school. And
That's Memphis in May. I mean,
Yeah.
that's when summer kicks off. When kids are out of school, Memorial Day weekend, pools open.
it's kind of like once we get over that hump of Memphis in May, get over that hill.
We're having March go out like a line this week. We got April, and then it's less than 6 weeks to Memphis in May.
Mm-hmm. While we were down in New Orleans, we did eat some good food.
Oh, always.
That city has such good food.
But you leave a little piece of yourself with it every time you go. At least I do. It was all good up to Sunday.
There's a song that says it takes a lot of water to wash away New Orleans.
Ooh, it does. That's very true.
On the way down there, we stopped at Middendorf's. It is a catfish joint.
And Manchac,
Yeah.
yeah, it's on the middle of the causeway that's going, on 55.
Their catfish is very unique.
Super thin.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great.
So they take, because normally you buy what size fillets? Do you buy?
I like the 4 to 6 ounce small fillets.
Do you cut those in
Kind-
half?
If they're 4 ounce, you don't have to. But if they're anything bigger than 6, I usually split them.
Okay.
Just because I like a thinner, smaller piece of fish that'll fry up super crispy, and it's thin, so you get the right crunch, you get the right seasoning on it. It's just, to me, that ratio of crunch to fish is perfect for
Yeah.
catfish.
But it almost seemed like they took a big catfish fillet, and then how would you describe it?
Fillet it even more.
It's almost like they peeled layers off
So
of it.
it's like I think it's called the Delmonico cut of catfish or whatever. I need to look that up. But that may be not how you say it. A delicata. I think that's what it is. A delicata cut, which is a large catfish fillet, and they're thick. When I say thick, it can be up to an inch or more in thickness. So and I don't know why maybe they just like that style down there. Maybe they were trying to stretch the fish they were serving back in the day. But I actually asked the lady that was waiting on us, did they cut these fillets this thin there? And she said it started back when they had a lady, and that's all she did was cut catfish fillets. And she had a very sharp knife, and she would fillet it more. So it turned these larger, thicker fillets of fish into smaller, more manageable fillets that you could bread.
Like almost paper thin.
I'd like to see one in its raw
Yeah.
form before they breaded it, because it has to be that thin to get that ratio of breading to catfish meat that thin. But man, it fries so crispy and good. It just melts in your mouth. And it says, like, when you sit down on the table there at Middendorf's, that here's your seasoning array. They've got like this little carousel where you've got Tony Chaucery seasoning, Cajun seasoning, you got the Crystal hot sauce, you got cocktail sauce, salt and pepper, of course, whatever you need
Might have been one or two other things
on this
in
little
there, yeah.
kiosk. And on the sign it said, we simply coat our fish in a mixture of flour and meal, and that's it, no seasonings. So they want you to taste the catfish in its purest form And if you think it needs seasoning, the seasoning's on the table for you to do it. And I was like, so when I read that, what would you think?
I was like, oh crap. I'm gonna hate this fish.
It's gonna be plain. It's not gonna have any flavor. It was totally opposite of that.
Yeah, it was good.
When you tried that catfish, I mean, first you tasted the batter, but it wasn't like needed salt or needed pepper or anything. And then you tasted the fish, and it all went together. It was just a really, really good bite of catfish.
I thought so too, and I did use a little seasoning, but
all I did was tartar sauce.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all
I didn't have to. But it was almost like the fish was so thin it just became one with the batter, and
yeah, for real.
You couldn't have like picked the batter away from the fish.
If you go there, you don't need to order anything more than a small plate. That's what we got. We were just for lunch. We knew we were going on to New Orleans, and I was like, we'll just stop in. We were ahead of our check-in schedule at a hotel, and I'm glad we did because I've passed that place a bunch of times, and I've always known it's famous for its thin crispy fried catfish. But if you get a chance to stop in there and get a bite, do it. It's worth it.
We also went to Restaurant Revolution that night, which was probably the best restaurant I've been to in a while.
Really?
Yeah. It was one of my favorites.
It was the meal was awesome.
Yeah. We ordered.
I think I shocked the waiter.
We ordered char-grilled oysters.
Yeah.
And bone marrow, roasted bone marrow.
If that's on a menu, if bone marrow's on a menu, you bet that I'm going to order it. And it's just a canoe of a beef bone that's been roasted. They usually bring you out.
They brought us out some bread.
Yeah, they had some bread.
Well, we said you can keep that.
Yeah. So what I did was when those char-grilled oysters come out, you pick that bone. That bone's hot when it comes out, 1,000 degrees probably. Bubbling. The marrow just cooking perfectly in it, but there's a lot of like where that marrow melts and just turns to like delicious oil, beef oil, I guess you'd say, tallow, hot 1,000-degree tallow. Drizzle that, pick that up and drizzle that over those char-grilled oysters. And when the waiter saw me do it, he's like, "What are you?" And he said, "Oh, I like your style." He acted like he'd never seen it before.
Did you have that
I'd never
idea
seen
when
that
you
before.
ordered it?
No, but when I saw it sitting there in front of me, just a light went off. How could that be bad?
It was so good.
Yeah.
That was the best char-grilled oyster I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, because you had that
it had bone marrow with it.
Yeah. That's something I need to add to the menu. I don't even remember what I ordered. He called it the shorties and lobster, short ribs and lobster. It was a good dish.
I had red fish. It was
with the little lemon. What was that? Beurre Blanc sauce or something?
It was just a really well cooked, perfectly cooked piece of red fish with a sauce that he poured when he set down the table.
I like that aspect of it. The sauce comes out in like this little silver pitcher, baby milk pitcher or something, and he pours that in your plate first and then the fish or
just
whatever.
Makes me feel fancy.
Yeah, it was good.
We also found a little tiki bar that I wanted to go to. I've never been to a tiki bar. I've always wanted to go to a tiki bar.
What was it? Berries?
Beach Bum Berries, Latitudes 29.
If y'all ever get a chance to go in that place, that's a cool place. It's about the size of this podcast room. I mean, it's tiny.
And it was real dark.
Yeah, super dark. Like you can't see. I mean, yeah. It's candlelit tables. That's about it. I don't even know if they got lights.
We were pulling out our flashlights on our phone to read the menu. I mean, that could be because we're old. But
we took some pictures of those drinks. You need to share some of those.
Yeah.
That was I never would have knew that bar existed. And I've been to New Orleans, bunch. What street was it on? Decatur?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. We had Uber drive us off there.
Yeah.
And there was like you didn't know that was the one you couldn't find the door for, right? And it was like, is it this door?
It was hidden. Yeah.
It was well hidden.
So we had something called a Shanghai lumpia there, Lumpia, and it's a Filipino style egg roll.
Oh yeah.
And they had shrimp, pork, muerpa, udon noodles in that egg roll.
It was good.
So I looked up what lumpia wrappers are. So it's so the lumpia is a Filipino version of spring roll.
Spring rolls typically like rice paper, right? Like thin see-through stuff.
Lumpia paper uses flour instead of rice. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's going to be a flour, and they're circular like a crepe instead of square or rectangular like a egg roll.
It was very light and flaky.
Yeah.
Super light. Those were good.
It was very good. And then we had pimento cheese rangoons.
Ooh.
Those were good too.
Which I thought that was a great idea. It's kind of taking the Southern and the Asian.
Yeah.
It really wasn't like a dinner place. You just got like some apps, like
Yeah.
small plates they called it, and we sat at the bar. I mean, and the bartender, like she'd been, I forget how long, I asked her how long you had to work there before they let you make drinks, because the drinks they were making were super complicated. I mean, it was like you needed to be a florist to make it. They put so much garnish and stuff. I mean, for real, like she put down flowers and stuck them in, and it was crazy.
She was making the flower garnish there with each drink you ordered
each
too.
drink. It took them a while. Like you didn't they're not churning out drinks.
Yeah.
It's
They're not
like,
slinging them.
Yeah. It's like when you order a drink, it might be 15, 20 minutes before you get it, but they were well worth it.
They're shaving nutmeg on the top.
Yeah, it was fancy.
We also went to the Koshan Butcher one day for lunch.
One of my favorite lunch spots now.
Really?
I've been to the Koshan restaurant, and I just thought it was good. I've never been over to the butcher shop right beside it, and it's just like a little lunch place where they still have a meat counter where you can order deli meats and cured meats and things like that, but it was fantastic for lunch.
I had duck pastrami sliders with Gruyere cheese.
That would be a good one to recreate.
It would be really good. That would be good for a contest entry.
Oh, for exotic or
Mayonnaise.
poultry,
Yeah. 'Cause
mayonnaise.
it had mayonnaise on the little.
Yeah. I got the classic muffaletta, but we also got some hog head cheese. Did you ever had that?
I have, but I've always not liked it.
So what did you think about
It was really
Koshan's?
good.
I thought it was awesome.
I kept eating it.
Yeah.
You got boudin too, and I thought it was really good boudin.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it just a brand of it, or
No, so what it is, they take the head of a hog, and they cook it down. And I'm talking about boil it down where all the meat comes off the bones. But it has a lot, since they cook it like that, a lot of the collagen and, the tendons and things like that in the head break down. And so when you get all this meat and collagen, you separate the bones and anything undesirable, you pick all that out, and then they season it up and add probably onions and peppers and things like that, and they put it like in a mold.
With gelatin.
Well, I don't think you have to add any gelatin, because the collagen and all the breakdown of the cartilage and the tendons is what makes it gel. But you have to refrigerate it like overnight, and it turns into like a loaf. Then you can pop it out and slice it up, so you get a chunk of all this hog head meat.
If
you know,
Sounds
describe it.
delicious, right?
It's something you need to. If you get a chance to try it, don't think about how they did it.
Yeah.
Just think about how good all of it tastes together.
I will try it.
So I did look up the official definition. It is parts of the head, including the tongue. Sometimes they'll throw in feet and heart, but it definitely includes brain, eyes, and ears.
Definitely includes.
Thanks, y'all, for the description.
You just cook the head down. You just boil the head. Oh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, Tyler.
Let's do
We'll do that for buck junkies or something.
God. All right.
Just get out the big pot and boil it down like Mark's jambalaya pot. Because you need something big to cook the head in, especially if you're talking about 250-pound hog's head. That's a big head.
Yeah. I mean, you like some of the head meat, like the temple.
Jowl and the temple meat, some of the best meat on a hog. And I doubt, they probably don't do that when they make hog egg cheese. They're cutting those jowls out. Temple might be in there. But they're not wasting anything when it comes to a pig. There's a use for all of it.
Would you eat head meat?
I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
I wanted to try it when we had the Palmer home thing, but I think I just ended up having to leave too early or something like that. But I would try anything once.
Oh, yeah. Nevis and May, you get to try some hog head.
I'm sure it'll ruin it for me. I'll never be able to have it anywhere else.
Well, when they smoke a hog the way they do at Memphis and May, it's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The meat is...
Shell's ate the eyeball before. I've seen you do it.
It was a dare. We were daring each other.
I would do it. The straight hog eyeball.
Was there mayonnaise involved?
No,
it was
mayonnaise. It was beer, though. Beer was involved.
Makes sense.
Time to go to brunch tomorrow before we go out of town, so that might be perfect.
Oh, yeah. Y'all are going to cook a contest,
Yeah.
right? You got to do another hog. So, how many hogs?
That was one of my questions.
Oh, is that one of yours?
Yeah.
This is taking us right into hog cooking. First off, congratulations. Y'all hit finals last week.
Finally hit finals.
How many contests was it before you hit finals?
3.
On your third one?
We had 2 fourths, and then we went into finals in second. And, of course, my first time in finals, like I told y'all, I think I blacked out. I don't really remember what we talked about in the finals, and we come out of third overall.
But it's progressively getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah. So you got another contest this weekend. Where's it at?
It's in Boyle, but it's right outside of Cleveland, right south of Cleveland, Mississippi. So
It's in
down
where?
in the Boyle, Boyle.
Oh, okay.
Boyle. That's
Boyle.
a terrible name.
Well, you say bull, I think BOIL,
Yeah,
like
me
crawfish
too.
bull.
Yeah,
But
it's in Boyle.
Boyle. Is it? Yeah. I bet that's how they say it.
Ain't nobody down there complain how you say bull. I promise.
Bull.
But no, we got that. But on to your question, how many hogs have I cooked this year
Yeah.
since January 1?
If you go back even
Is it over a
further-
dozen?
Yes.
Over a dozen?
Yeah, I think we're either right at 12 or might be 13 now. Real close.
The
And
one
then-
that you cooked with Jay in Senatobia at the hunt camp, was that
That's not even
before
included.
January?
No, that was.
That was after January.
Okay, so that's included too.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, it was like the second week in January, and we've already cooked 2 by then.
Yeah.
So that one was the third one.
But you
for the
cooked
year.
2 like New Year's. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, for New Year's, they went up to Indiana.
I
and
forgot
cooked
about
them.
that.
And then
Reason being, we're cooking on new pit,
new pit.
and hog cooking's fairly new to y'all. It's definitely new to Jay on his pits.
I mean, we know how to cook pork. And granted, in your mind, you're thinking you're just cooking a lot more pork. And
Yeah.
you technically are, but there's a lot more goes into cooking a hog, and it's a lot more room for error. You know, you got a lot of stuff you got to get done at the same time and, you know, have different textures. And it's a learning game for us for sure.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, so when we're used to cooking hogs, we've always cooked them either on a water cooker or an old hickory.
Mhm.
So you either had dry convection heat or we've had that steam from the water pan underneath it. And that allowed us to really, you know, slow the hog down and take a real, real long time to cook it. Well, it's a whole different ballgame when you go to cooking it on a stick burner, which is what we're doing. But the reason being, we got to talking to Jay about how good a flavor is we get off on pork off a drum, how it's that authentic barbecue flavor. And that reminded me of the barbecue that I had first tasted as a kid, where they were cooking it on these old smokehouses where they had the brick pits and they would cook the hogs on them and they would flip them, shovel the coals underneath them. And
only putting salt on the skin.
so Mark and Jay got to thinking, how could y'all come up with some way to do that for pork? And it started with one of his other pits trying to figure it out for butts, wasn't it,
Right.
for KCBS contest?
So it kind of goes back to what you said. You know, I've always wanted to cook on a cinder block pit, but I don't want to build a cinder block pit in my backyard and have to do something with it or.
And there's no taking it anywhere.
Yeah, like it is what it is. So years ago when we all started talking about this, we were just looking for that same style pit, but something that we can either put on a cart, you know, roll it in the garage out of the way or put it in storage or have something you can move and take with you. And that idea snowballed from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And the first one we cooked on was at Jay's. I think it might have been 4th of July or sometime a couple years back, but it was similar to kind of what the hog pit is now. Kind of the same idea, but we wasn't sure how to maintain the fire underneath the hog and control the temp and like still have all that fire underneath the hog, but still run 300, 325 degrees without it getting away from you.
Yeah.
And the first pit, it would get away from you. I mean, we cooked butts on it and just to see what it would do and
To get the airflow down.
To get the
figure
airflow
temps
and-
out. All that stuff that you have to do with any new pit.
the airflow is completely different on this pit. It does some crazy things that until you start cooking on it and kind of seeing what it does, you really don't think about it. Like last weekend, the hog we cooked was a little bit bigger than what we normally do, and it was a little bit too big for the pit. So the pit was full. And to see with, you know, that much airflow being blocked off, what the heat from underneath the hog was doing, you could see it plain as day. And like the heat completely moved. Like it went to the other end of the pit, even though it never done that before. So it was cool to see that and learn that. Now we know. So now we know what we can get away with that size hog and a smaller hog and stuff like that. But it's been a learning process, no doubt. A long learning process, to say the least.
So do you think it cooks a better hog than, say, like a water cooker or RO hickory even or something like that? Do you think, I mean, just from what you've tried, would you say?
I like it better. I'm not going to say it cooks a better hog because, I mean, it cooks a dang good hog, but it's a different hog. It's
Yeah.
a different flavor profile. I mean, we've cooked on water cookers, we've cooked on Old Hickory, and they all turn out a phenomenal product. I mean, you still have to learn that pit, regardless. You know, they're not set it and forget it. You're still learning and running that pit. But man, I love the flavor on this one, and it's unique, and it takes you back to a more of a eating hog.
Yeah,
like I've had hogs off water cookers, and really, I mean, especially if you're cooking a running style, it's hard to get flavor in that pig.
Well, it's you got to put it in there.
You have to put it in there.
You're not getting it from the pit.
And a lot of times, it's just a really good roasted pork flavor.
Yes.
It's not like to me, I don't pick up on crazy smoke. I don't pick up on any kind of flavor whatever you put in it's what you taste.
You're tasting the salt and the sugars you inject and all those brubs and stuff you put on the outside.
And it's good pork. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's winning championships every weekend. I mean, that's great pork. But this is fun, and this is a flavor. I promise you, and I've done it to y'all, I can pull a piece of bark off that shoulder and give it to you, and you close your eyes, and it's the most tender pork steak you've ever ate off a charcoal grill.
Yeah.
It tastes like a grilled pork chop.
See, that's the biggest thing to me when I taste, like, I'm not talking about any of the meat that's close to the top where you actually do get the smoke and the seasonings from it. Deep down in it, you get that old school pit flavor from the meat that's like down in the shank, or that's down, even though like you're keeping the injection simple in it. It's not a whole lot of stuff in the injection. You're not shooting it up because we don't want.
I don't think you need all that flavor.
Well,
when
the way
you're
you're cooking
so
it, we don't need that much moisture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These hogs have the marbling, the fattiness. They just need some flavor put to them. So you're not you're actually, it makes it easier on flavoring it to get it from your charcoal and your smoke and all the, the pit itself than having to fudge or try to make up for lack of flavor is what I think.
What we noticed last week, and the biggest thing for us to learn is how to, when it comes to cooking hog, is the process of finishing it. What you do to get the product from the hog to the box, what cuts goes in the box, how to pull the good stuff. That's what we've been learning and figuring out.
Yeah, competition
style.
Not how to make it taste
No,
good.
not how to make it taste good.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Last weekend, and I'll put my hand on the Bible, I'll tell everybody this, and it's 100% truth. We did not doctor that hog one bit. It went from the hog, went through just a little bit of glazed sauce just to make it have some color, and it went in the box. And we tinned out in taste.
You weren't. That's pretty awesome.
You let the hog shine.
It was no finishing rubs. It was no salts at the end.
No butter dip.
No butter dip. It was strictly
pork base.
Hog in the box. Kept it simple. And I took a bite and I told Jamie, I was like, I'm scared if we put something on it, it's going to be too much. Like it don't need nothing.
Yeah,
It'll fight it. Yeah.
And I was like, let's put it in the box, send it, see what happens. And I mean, it paid off. Now, granted, we got to get better about pulling and presenting. Like that is something that's an art to it. Was I nervous? Yes. I was very nervous. Was Jamie nervous? Yes.
Now, was that one of those mangling hogs, or is that one of the?
That was from Home Place Pastures.
Home Place?
Yeah. It's a
Duroc Cross.
Duroc Cross, yeah. And it's a good hog. I mean, it's local. I love supporting local, and it's easy. I can call them on Monday, say, hey, I need a hog. I pick it up on Thursday. It's good to go. So it's been fun.
For Memphis, we got some special hogs, so we got some of those manglings.
I'm anxious to see them because these have been fed out a lot longer than what we practice cook with.
Yeah.
So they got another 100 days of barley.
Wow.
Is it going to be a heavier pig?
Nope.
A bigger pig?
So
they're just controlling the diet of what they eat.
They're controlling the diet, and what we didn't realize, and I don't know if I talked to Daniel with BFR several times. What they didn't realize is they always figure 25 to 30% loss when they dress a hog out. So from hoof weight to what the weight you pay for when you cook it, they always figure that loss for everything from intestines to all the organs they remove, cleaning it up,
30% is what
25 to 30.
Really, I figured more.
That's
than
what
that.
you lose with
guts and all
Talking
that.
about on the hoof.
On the hoof versus hanging weight.
Hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are only like 10 to 15.
That's what they lose is percentage wise, 10 to 15%.
So I don't understand.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
That seems
Like, I don't understand, but I will say when we got those hog, I've never seen that much, like the good fat, like around the ribs and that fat that melts really good. I've never seen that much in a hog. I mean, it was crazy.
The good lard.
The good lard, yes. You could throw this in a skillet and render it, and I mean, it was just pretty white. I mean, pretty fat.
What's the difference between good lard and bad lard?
I mean,
Explain.
when you get some fat like on a domestic hog, that's not necessarily. I mean,
it doesn't have the flavor.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same. The same flavor. It's. I mean, they've got fat, but they've bred It's not intermuscular lard. It's not,
Right.
good.
It's not in the
kidney
loin.
fat
Yeah.
lard. You know what I'm talking about? That's what you want.
What I always try to do and can tell is, to me, good fat should crumble just like blue cheese.
Yeah, it's
It
flaky.
should be dry. So you can literally grab it and it'll crumble in your hand and you can mold it. Whereas the fat that's not going to render, the fat that's not going to produce any flavor, is slimy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wet and tacky. It don't really, it's not going to render. That dry fat, you can put it on a 100-degree pit.
It's starting to melt. It's
Yeah.
starting to melt in your hand.
You put it out in the sunlight,
You
it'll start melting.
Hold it in your hand.
Like butter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've learned a lot and still learning. And that's what I told a guy last weekend. I was like, I'm not saying that we know everything, because we don't, but I'm having fun doing it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're chasing something, and it's just, we're enjoying it. It's good. It's something different. It's a change of pace from what we were cooking all the time, and it's almost easier. I mean, really.
Have you
Yeah.
joined my club where the whole hog is my favorite thing to cook? Would you say that honestly?
I think it is, but I'm tired of cooking them.
Hey, don't get you. We still got a few.
We got a
weeks to
week
go.
break.
Yeah.
It's been busy, and
You don't have a week break. You're going to cook a hog this weekend down in Bull, and then next weekend you got to load the trailer.
load it in. But I ain't cooking a hog next
Yeah.
weekend,
Yeah.
unless you tell me to,
No, no,
and then I will.
no. It's you get a weekend off. We got to get the pits shined up.
Yeah, we got to clean some pits. But it's
So you've been cooking these hogs. What's the cleanup process like on these
Yeah.
pits after you render all that fat in them? How bad is it?
so
Once you learn, I feel like it's not as hard as you
the
would
first
think.
one. So the first hog pit, HAWG hog pit, is kind of the prototype. It has a different fire rack underneath the hog, so it's got drip pans. So once you pull the charcoal grate out, you let the pit cool. You just take a flat bladed hoe, rake it up, and you can have it clean in 10 minutes. It's fairly easy.
Yeah.
The new pit has a taller, like, charcoal basket in. You slide it all the way out, and it's just a smooth surface. Same thing. You just let that fat kind of congeal, take your little shovel and hoe, and shoop, clean to go, wipe it out, you're good to go.
So you're not having to wash it, pressure wash it.
I haven't put a pressure washer in it yet. Now I'm probably gonna wash them before Memphis, because
They're already seasoned though, right?
They seasoned. I guarantee you they seasoned.
Isn't that a good thing?
Oh yeah. I just want to get all the grease out of the bottom. I'm not worried about the top. Like, we're not going to wash the top. I want to have a clean slate when we go to Memphis.
Yeah, you don't want any standing grease in it, because that'll go rancid, and then when you heat it back up, you can get some of that off smell. You definitely don't want that.
And it's an easy pit to run. I mean, we've got it now to figure it out to where we're literally shoveling coal, and like last weekend, I might have put 2 scoops of coal underneath that hog for the entire cook.
This last week you released 2 new seasonings.
Yeah,
Have them in here. Dang it.
Did we didn't bring those in?
No.
We should have. But
Hey, Tyler,
We'll
go
save
grab
them.
them.
they're in the
Yeah.
Malcolm's line. We're gonna pause it for a second.
You can just run out there and grab it.
Okay.
It's an Italian stallion seasoning and a
So you recording?
Gyro Hero. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was still recording. He stepped out to get on. That's cool. But yeah, no, I did. These have been in the works for a while, and it's kind of like in my Malcolm's line, where it's not just barbecue stuff.
Yeah.
These are cooking stuff, cooking seasonings and stuff that I use in the kitchen. And they're great. They're great using them, on meat on the grill, or in the smoker or anything like that. But this is them, my 2 new releases. I've got the Italian Stallion.
Michael
And
came up with that name.
I mean, that's what they called Rocky, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's legal or not. We call it that. I like this. It's Italian Stallion. Oh, it's Italian Stallion pizza, Italian seasoned pasta. Anything goes. If you like Italian food, you would like the Italian Stallion.
We've been making that for a while now.
Yeah.
And using it for pizzas.
Spaghetti season.
because
Spaghetti, yeah.
It's really good spaghetti.
And then my jalapeno Greek Gyro Hero. If you like Greek food, or just a little spice to your Greek
If you like
life,
Cavenders,
if you like,
want a little spicy.
a little spicier,
That's better.
tastier, zestier Cavender style or seasoning, Greek seasoning, it's great. I mean, it's good on everything too. I tell you what, Mikey used some of this last week. He did a sausage and cheese board, and he was just trying something to put over the sausage and the cheese, and he went with that Gyro Hero, just kind of sprinkled it over it like we would a dry rub, and he
Yeah.
said it was fantastic on smoked sausage like that. And I was like, you didn't cook it or anything? He's like, no, man, we just sprinkled it over it. So
One
good
thing
one.
I use for the Gyro Hero is green beans.
Yes,
Saute
very good on
pan.
sauteed green beans. I mean, a lot of this stuff we do use when it's not necessarily just grilling.
No.
It's like whenever we're cooking, grabbing a bottle of seasoning out of the cabinet. That's what we're going with. Side dishes.
And I did little pork roasts with the Italian Stallion last week. They were really good.
Serve that up with some Brussels sprouts and some carrots, roasted with a little balsamic glaze. Man, it's good.
So enough shameless plugs.
Enough shameless plugs. Hey, we got new seasons to try, man. People got to try them.
All right, so this is for both of you guys, whoever wants to answer it. But what is within reason? What's the craziest Memphis in May story of past that you guys have?
There are too many crazy Memphis and May stories. Yeah, the guy getting stuck in the trailer. This has been 2007, 2008. We come in one night after we've been partying the night before, and somebody always locks up for us. And I open the trailer up, and as soon as I open the trailer, it's blacked out, power's off, everything. I open the trailer, and this dude just busts out of our trailer and takes out running, goes through the booth, hits the pavement on the parking, on the road outside, and it's gone. And we never hear from him. So that was one that we've told before. What's one of the crazy ones that you can remember?
Because of tornado, we've been had to evacuate during an award ceremony because of a tornado. That was a couple years back.
They canceled the awards.
Yeah.
So there is no place to go here. You just have to leave. If we have to evacuate this park, you just have to leave, Tyler. There's no secure area out here. There's no underground bunker you can get in. Yeah, I would just run to your vehicle and pray. That's about all you can do. That's why they evacuated, because there's no safe place to be. I'll tell you, here's a good story that I remember. We were just a few spots down, and this has been several years ago, and we're up on top. We had a 2-story booth that year, and we noticed something out in the river, and it's this guy. It's 2 guys, and they come swimming by everybody. I'm talking about in the water, in the river out there.
And everybody started paying attention and went out there and was like watching them, and some people were cheering, but you could just see them. And then about that time, you saw a police boat come.
So they actually have a Coast Guard here on the Mississippi River, and so these guys are stroking it now. They're Olympic style swimming down through here, and we don't know what's going on. We don't know. You see all types in Memphis downtown, especially at barbecue contests.
The rumor I heard was that they were running from the police.
That would not surprise me in Memphis. But we had thought they had jumped in from a barbecue team, done no telling what, dare, whatever, and had jumped in the river and decided to swim south. And they were getting it. I'm talking about barge speed. These dudes were stroking.
Well, they were going with the river.
They were going with the river, so they had pretty good current going. And so it wasn't 5-10 minutes later, here come the Coast Guard, blue lights on. And these guys made it from here, I don't know how far to the old, we call that the old bridge. They probably made it down there in, 5 minutes. They were past the bridge, and they caught them, and they had climbed on a barge just south of that bridge. And they came back up with them, and they put them on the bank, and they actually paraded them like on a golf cart, police golf cart. Yeah, they were hogtied. And drove them by everybody. These guys got standing ovations all the way down to Barbecue Fest. And that's one of the craziest things I've seen, 2 guys swimming by the river. If you know the Mississippi River, you do not, you can sit out here and watch what floats down it. I'm talking about, we've seen full, 100-foot long trees float down. There might be a refrigerator float by. You never know what. There's catfish as big as a car out there. And for one person to jump in it and swim, I mean, it's just, it blows me away seeing somebody out there doing the breaststroke. Oh, yeah, it has to be. So, Shell, do you want to say another crazy one you've seen?
Not prepared. The year that we filmed with Food Network, that was interesting.
Year.
Yeah.
It wasn't really crazy.
Yeah. 2007? So our first year was 2006.
What about our ambassador? We had a really good ambassador one year that got fired from his volunteer
Yeah, you're not on.
So this is another good one. Every team out here gets an ambassador. Yeah, and we're not naming names for the sake of not naming names because we like the guy. But we had an ambassador one year, and they're responsible for, I don't know, 5 to 6 teams, say something like that. And what an ambassador does is make sure your experience is good, I guess. You know, they want to make sure you know your turn-in times. They want to make sure you got your turn-in boxes. If you have any questions, if you need ice, if you need an official for anything, you know, that's what your ambassador does. They're your go-between between Memphis and May and the teams. And so we had an ambassador one year that really liked us. He hung out with us the whole contest. And this was back when we were coring out strawberries and soaking them in vodka and filling. Excuse me.
We were a party team back then. Yeah.
And so he partook a little too much. And so they got to looking for him. This was on, I don't know, I think it was like the Friday of Memphis and May. It wasn't even Saturday. It was Friday morning. Now, the night before when I left, mind you, this ambassador was sitting on the curb outside our booth and was just giving everything back that he had partake of that day. So he had a rough day. So the next day, Friday comes on. He shows up, but he's in the floor. He's got boots on. His boots are over to the side. He is stretched out, shells working around him.
No, I was trying to lay carpet because we have to do on-site judging and make it pretty and nice. So I was trying to lay carpet, and I would literally say, "Hey, you got to move over 2 feet so I could lay the carpet." Yeah, and I'd roll him and then lay the carpet and let him roll him back and then lay the other piece.
And so they got to looking for him because he's responsible for other teams too. It's not just hanging out with us that his job was. Now, so I guess teams get to calling Memphis and May looking for their ambassadors, saying he hadn't showed up, hadn't brought their turn-in boxes, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, this Bloody Mary's getting me. But all the good stuff that you're supposed to do, the ambassador was not doing. He was having too good a time. And so later that afternoon, he came back, and he wasn't looking so happy. He kind of had a frown on his face. They had terminated him from his volunteer job. Now, if you've ever known a volunteer to get fired, that happened with us. They uninvited him to come back to be an ambassador for teams. But you know what we did? We made him a member of Killer Hogs, and he partied with us every year after.
It's actually true. Yeah, we did. So last year, I got rid of my stick burner, replaced it with a Pro Series pellet smoker, and they absolutely loved it. But they have a friend that's been using drum smokers and horizontal smokers, and they say that's the only way to go. And the pellet smokers cannot match up to the old schools. And they realize that there's, difference in cooking and different types of barbecue that it produces. But this is their main question is the old way of doing it really that superior? When I say the old way of doing it, I mean charcoal, wood, tending a fire.
I think it depends on the taste of the barbecue you want. Like if you want more of an old school smoke, you want to taste the smoke. You want to, taste the wood flavor in the meat. A pellet grill just can't do it as good.
Yeah.
And I've always said that. But a lot of people don't like a heavy smoke flavor. I think that's why pellet grills, one reason why they're easy to cook on, but another one is people don't want that heavy smoke flavor. There's some things that I like to taste the wood in. Like if I'm eating pork butt, I want to taste some wood smoke. If I'm eating brisket, I want to taste that Texas post oak or that pecan.
But I also think that old school barbecue, if you're doing it right, you don't get a heavy smoke.
No, it's not heavy. Yeah, now done right.
Yeah.
But see, some people like that. Some people think it's got to be blowing like a freight train the whole time they're cooking, or they're not cooking real barbecue.
Yeah.
Y'all know I'm a fan of pellet grills. I think they're way more versatile than a stick burner as far as what you can cook on them. I mean, I'm cooking everything on a pellet grill, figuring out ways to. And could you do it on a stick burner? Yeah, but I've never had chicken wings come off a stick burner that I think's better than what I can do on my pellet grill. There's a lot of stuff like
Turkey.
the cast. I even like turkeys better on a pellet grill. It just cooks poultry better. I mean, I can cook comp stuff where it's heavily sauced and cooked in butter on my pellet grill and stuff. But
Are
it's
you
not,
taking a pellet grill to a comp?
No. I used to, but it's just too much to
Yeah,
me.
but we
It's too
only
much
cook
trouble.
chicken on it.
Yeah, we only cook chicken on it.
You didn't cook your.
But I still see,
brisket ribs or-
and I like if I'm cooking my chicken in a pan in butter with all the sauce at the end and all that. It's just about heat control. So I can do that with my stick burner. It's not like I'm trying to over smoke it or anything. So it works the same way. But I just like the versatility that pellet grill gives you. If you had to choose one and you're wanting to cook everything, get you a pellet grill. Now, if you're wanting to concentrate on authentic barbecue flavor, and you know you're going to be cooking ribs and pork butt and brisket, stuff like that that's traditionally got more of a smoke profile to it, I would say the drum or the stick burner is a better choice for you. Best of both worlds, get you a pellet grill and a drum because they're both affordable, and they're super easy
And
to
you got
cook
the
on.
best of
Yeah,
both
'cause I
worlds.
think you get that best overall flavor on the drum. To me, if you want authentic barbecue flavor, that drum's where it's at. Better than the stick burner.
Okay.
Now, the downside is it's hard to cook a whole packer brisket on a drum. You can squeeze it in there, but it's just
You're limited on your.
Yeah, you're
size.
limited on your space on that 22-inch rack.
2 racks.
Unless you
of
buy the
ribs.
big Drumzilla that Blue Zone's cooking
Can
out.
you imagine controlling the temp on that?
I'd like to see how that thing cooks. I
Yeah.
need to ask Tim how that thing cooks. I need a demo on it.
So you're saying there is no one right way to do it?
No, it's up to you how you want to do it. I mean, that's a valid argument from both sides. It's like, which one's better? Ford or Chevy? It's kind of that thing, or electric versus, gas, right? I mean, there's merits for all of it. I don't think somebody's less of a pit master, if you want to call it, if you want to be a pit master, if you cook on a pellet grill versus a stick burner. I think you need to learn all of it. Fire management is key when if you want to really concentrate on being the best cook you can be, you got to learn to cook on everything. Be versatile, but a pellet grill is a tool.
To me, it's how you want to spend your time.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, there's a trade-off.
Like, I'm not going to go.
Put a stick on a fire every hour.
No, that's just not fun.
Worry about the wind and all that. You just want to set it and let it roll.
I
do
just
its
want
thing.
the effect at the end, and most of the time I'm not cooking. But I enjoy it when you do it.
I would, that would be interesting to cook the same piece of meat on 3 or 4 different grills
And taste
and
it.
let somebody taste them and see if they could pick which grills it came off of and which one was the crowd favorite. That'd
That
be
would
really interesting. Because I know, I can cook a brisket almost as good as I can on my stick burner, my pellet grill. Now, it takes a lot longer, and I keep the temp super low, so I'm in that smoke zone more. But it would be hard for somebody to tell one versus the other, I think. That'd be a good little experiment to
That
run.
would be.
Maybe we'll do that at the smokehouse sometime.
Yeah.
Get some people to come.
You'd have to have a lot of control. Like they'd all have to be seasoned the same,
Yeah.
and all have to be done the same, and all
and you have to
rested.
work your time out. Yeah, where they're done at the same time
Yeah.
too, and rested at the same time,
Yeah.
and see if you could tell. It's interesting. That's very interesting. When did y'all start selling the cabinets?
In the past few years, Mark and the team saw the opportunity, and it's a great opportunity and great way to set up the future of how we're showing that we really can evolve your whole backyard. We've got the whole system, so we can build all of our units around the outdoor cooking system and the outdoor kitchen. It's opens up the door for a lot of good future product development. Even if not everything's going to be in the kitchen, but we want it to at least look seamless. Everything's going to look aesthetically pleasing if you do choose to put it in your kitchen, or you SKUs to where you can build it into your kitchen.
Yeah, so it's all on Grilla. Is it GrillaGrills.com?
Yeah, GrillaGrills.com.
And you buy these pieces individually. So if you don't want you can buy whichever component you want. So if you just got a grill and you want to put a cabinet for storage beside it, you can buy one piece.
Yeah.
That's what's really cool. So for any size backyard or outdoor area could have one of these. You know what? They would even go in a barbecue trailer. Like if you were trying to put cabinets in your trailer, you just had like the one wall across the front of the trailer and you wanted to do a sink and a couple cabinets, they would fit perfect.
Yeah. No, we do sell them in like 3 and 4 piece bundles.
Yeah.
But also individually if you don't need the whole thing. We will be updating our website soon. in the next couple months, and we'll have like a full outdoor kitchen builder on there. So you can like the dimensions of where you're putting your kitchen. You can go in and select and actually like build your package there.
Like you do a car online now, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's a
or
big,
like Home Depot does for you when you want to do your kitchen and they got the cabinet person in there.
yeah, it's gonna be
You can,
sweet.
yeah, that is pretty cool. Like you can do the little floor plan for it to see if it'd fit or how it would look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So how hard is it to get somebody to do the whole CADed 3D rendering thing like you did for me?
He did that in like 10 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
really?
because they've already got the CAD of all the files,
Yeah,
so they're
just putting it
put them
together.
Yeah.
the cool thing about that is
Can't
like,
say that we'll be able to do that for every
Yeah.
customer.
yeah.
So don't expect that, but
But it is cool, man. It is cool. Yeah. It gives you an idea of how it would look and what space it would take up.
Yeah.
But the dimensions for everything are on the website. That's what I did.
Mhm.
So I kind of had the idea, like I knew how long my wall, like where my wall space was. And I was like, okay, it'd be better to L it this way. And if I had the sink over here, so I had the plumber, put my pipes in the right places. And I gave you the measurements and you said, well, it'll look like this. And that's when we got the drawing, which I thought was real cool.
Yep.
you could build your outdoor kitchen one piece at a time if you wanted to.
You could, yeah.
and use it, buy a cabinet, set it there. And
Yep. See if you like it. I mean, what amazed me was like, so each piece took roughly 20, 30 minutes tops to put together.
Yeah.
Because they come with, of course it's got good directions, but it's pretty much most of them the same size screws. There are some little flat sink screws that go down, but they
Best
all.
way is just how we did it. Stage it out, put all your small pieces up there on the counter, all your big panels laying up against the side, so all your hardware is separate. Because I've assembled them in small spaces, it's not as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Just
But they're
'cause you're
pretty
looking for
movable,
everything.
when you get them put together, they're not that bad to move, but they're super
how
sturdy.
heavy are they? Like put together your typical.
The
base?
top's the heaviest part on it because it's, what is it, a porcelain top?
Yeah, it's porcelain top.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it here.
And what's the bottom?
It's all metal,
All
like
stainless.
stainless
Stainless
steel, so it's not supposed to rust.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about being outside with it. So these can get rained on. It's not going to ruin them if they get weathered. If you had them out, with a cover, or even have you ever done some with no cover at all, just setting out?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, you can just wipe them off. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in a place where you get a lot of pollen, like it's going to help to have that
Yeah.
cover. But you can wipe it off pretty easily.
It would
Just
be
use
cool
water.
if y'all had like covers made for them. I guess you could put a tarp over it or something. But
We've got some covers too.
oh, do they? I didn't see those on the
We're working
website.
on a modular system too. So with that outdoor kitchen builder, you can also build your kind of customized cover as well.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like you'll basically build it because each cover is going to be for each cabinet SKU. So if you don't have all of them, you can leave that one off. It'll be modular to where you can Velcro them all together. And then if you just want to use your grill or something, you want to keep the other covered. You don't need access to the outdoor kitchen. You can just pull that grill cover off.
That'll keep, like, if they're sitting out and kind of in the elements, the pollen, dirt,
Yep.
all that stuff off of them, just keep protect them even more.
You won't have much maintenance on
Yeah,
in the smokehouse. It's gonna be nice.
No, that is good about having it enclosed. You don't have to worry about it too much.
So it's porcelain on the top.
Yep.
So what's the benefits of porcelain, or why did y'all decide to go with
So
porcelain?
It's heat resistant. It's super easy to clean, and it's durable. So
Okay.
So you can set stuff right off the grill, right on top of it, not
And it's
worry
not
about
gonna-
it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
like if you laid a
Yeah.
grate on it, or
Yeah.
if you took a hot pan right out the smoker full of meat, and you can set it right on that countertop.
Yep.
Not gonna phase it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of them are plastic,
Yeah.
they can burn.
Well, it's like ours are granite, and I've actually stained. I mean, you
It
can't
has
see it a
stained.
lot, but it stains out there.
Yeah.
Setting stuff on it that I shouldn't have, and I know. But man, you're in the heat of battle out there fighting the grill. You said you pull stuff off and set it on there, and
Those countertops, they're UV resistant too. So
Okay.
that's a big part of it.
so they're not gonna fade.
Yeah.
That's important too for outdoor kitchens.
So when they ship those things, is like shipping included on the price on the website, or shipping extra?
No, it's shipping. Shipping was free.
Oh, is it? Dang,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so the
that
price
you
is
see
the
on
price.
website,
Yeah, the price is the price.
you can't beat that.
I've always liked how Grilla does the, direct to consumer. It's
Yep.
website to
Yeah.
consumer. You can't go to a store and buy it, and you cut out that middleman. You cut out that middle cost. You get a better.
Helps us a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can be super competitive.
Yeah.
With that structure.
That's why.
You know what's real cool about it, Shell? The Price is Right had the whole outdoor gorilla kitchen
did.
on there.
Did they?
It was like one of the-
The same. I think it was the same setup we built. They reached out and we sent them, and it was on like prime time, like CBS. They had a night for like a outdoor family theme night,
Yeah.
and they reached out. I guess they were just looking at outdoor kitchens online, and we sent them. And it was aired on there. Someone ended up winning it too, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Showcase Showdown to get the gorilla outdoor kitchen.
Yeah, that was the last place I thought I'd be. You know,
Did you get to go?
no,
They didn't fly you out there.
no.
So was it a prize pack or was it the Showcase Showdown or do you know?
I think it was just the prize pack.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I'm
cool. though,
a
isn't it?
little bit of a
Yeah.
Price is Right fan from my childhood.
Heck yeah. Who didn't watch Price is Right before the daggum soap operas come on? Young and the Rest.
No, it's like, man, I guess we're gonna tap into those 70-plus-year-old consumers. And
Yeah.
anyone that's retired.
That's right.
That's when you start really getting serious about your outdoor kitchen too.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time we've had I wouldn't even call it an outdoor kitchen. It was an outdoor covered area.
Yeah, it was.
And it was nice, and you had 2 bars at our old setup. You had the 2 bars and you had an outdoor area to put your grills, but it never looked really professional or, it was just grills.
I had wall-to-wall grills
Yeah,
instead
it's
of
just
cabinets.
grills. And leaves would get in there in the corners and
Yeah, and it
sometimes-
stayed filthy. I mean,
Yeah,
you
it stayed
clean
dirty and
every
stuff.
single day that you went out there to cook.
So I like the fact that these modular cabinets give you that look, It looks professional. It looks nice. It doesn't look like some grills in a line on your back patio.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't have to hire somebody to come, build it.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Pretty easy to assemble.
That was the big thing. I mean, some of them were heavy. I mean, they're pretty heavy, so you need like a little 2-wheeler to move it around,
Yeah.
and then someone help you stand them up and stuff. Sometimes it's a 2-person job.
Yeah,
But you can invite a
You've
couple
done
buddies.
them like
yeah.
solo, I'm sure.
I
But
have. It takes a little longer, but
Yeah.
2 people definitely helps.
yeah,
How many of those have you put together?
Recently, I've put together quite a few, probably 7 or 8 just in the past couple months. So it kind of helped me, I think, for this week too.
Do you have to still read the directions?
No,
Yes.
maybe to identify all the parts that look
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no,
They did a pretty good job writing the instructions. So
But you can invite a couple buddies over, grab a case of beer,
yep,
Yeah.
put your outdoor kitchen together in one day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's pretty much what we did.
Yeah.
did the whole thing, and we thought it was going to take a full day. I think
Yeah, it was
took
half
us-
a day.
Yeah, half a day.
I was surprised by how fast it went together.
I was too.
Once you start. Now there were, I said you used to ship them. You said they were pretty much assembled. You just had to put the feet and some doors or something on some
Yep.
of them, right?
Yeah,
But now they've kind of packed them down to save on some of that shipping cost
Yeah.
and make it easier.
yeah, flat pack.
So they come, yeah.
Yep.
But to me, that helps. Like you're gonna have less damage with them because you know how shipping is, man. We see it every day.
Yeah,
I mean,
you-
shipping companies will just thrash your stuff.
Oh, I
I
know.
mean,
Yeah.
it's a wonder how they do it. But I mean, with those, they seem pretty sturdy the way it's packed. I mean, I guess if someone did
Yeah,
drop
and-
it off the truck, it might break something. But
Yeah. And then you don't have 6 pallets showing up to your front door either.
yeah,
That
yeah.
you don't know what to do with.
That's
you
right.
You live in town, like you got to worry about all those pallets. So
Yeah, how do those come to you? Like when you, from a consumer standpoint,
they'll
do you
ship on
order it?
pallet. Yeah, they'll put everything. Since it's flat pack now, you could probably fit your whole kitchen. I guess I brought down a lot of it in my truck, but
Yeah,
you could probably fit that on 2 pallets.
wow.
Yeah.
And they'll just lift gate it off right for you.
Yep.
And that's all included
Yeah.
in the price?
See, that's what's crazy because most of those companies I know, when we try to ship something like that, they throw that $250 lift gate extra.
$750 sometimes, yeah.
It depends, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They just do it through a logistics company. That's why we asked for a phone number because we need someone to be there so
Yeah.
they can schedule a drop off for it. And right at your doorstep.
So let's talk about reheating barbecue.
All right. What's your favorite way?
I don't know.
Or-
How do you reheat
So
barbecue?
I would think, I mean, of course, the best way is don't reheat it, eat it fresh. But that's not always the case. If you've got a small family cooking a whole butt or something, you got to reheat something. It's best to store it in as large of chunks or muscles as you can. I've always said that. So, like if I'm putting up meat, pulled pork, I will muscle it out, pull enough that we're going to eat for a meal, and the rest of it's either going in I like to vacuum seal it. That is the absolute best way. It could keep in the refrigerator for 4 to 5 days vacuum sealed.
So we're
Or-
talking about pulled pork
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah, pulled
Okay.
pork specifically. And to reheat it, all you do is heat up some water and just get it boiling and then cut it off and then drop it down in there and just let it hang out.
If it's vacuum sealed.
If it's vacuum sealed. That's the easiest way. Now, if you got the sous vide, which those things are cheap now, you can buy one of those on Amazon for $100 or maybe even cheaper, and it'll control the temp. Like you set it on 140 and you can drop your bags right in there and just reheat it in that. And you can do like we did it it mounted on the side of one of our little double stack or party stacker coolers. Mount the sous vide on the side of it with the little thumb screw thing and put water in it and put the meat in there, and it'll hold it all day. It's ready to go. That's the best way. Now, can you reheat it in the oven? Yeah.
I've done it plenty of times.
You can dump
I
it
throw
out?
the whole vacuum seal bag in a pan in the oven and reheat it in the vacuum seal bag. Now, I don't know if you get
I don't know the legality of that, but I mean, it does. It works.
I don't know
It
about
blows up. You think of roasting bag, it blows up. It holds it. It doesn't like melt the plastic. I guess
Yeah.
it could. Now I wouldn't put it right on the heat element. You got to have it in another pan or something.
and I don't put it too high. I
Yeah.
do like 300.
Yeah, and just reheat it that way.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
It takes a while. It does take like an hour.
I've even done it in the microwave shell.
Oh yeah.
Just zap it, but I don't like put it on there and put it on 5 minutes.
I don't feel
I'll do like intervals at a time, rotate it intervals at a time in the bag.
yeah, you've got to
and
rotate
and
it
it brings it right back too.
because to me in the microwave it doesn't get evenly heated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't if you don't move it around, or if you just put it on 3 minutes and let it go. I don't even care if it's carousel and it's not going to get heated as good. But a little Mike Mills just call it radar love. they could give some stuff some radar love and get it right back to ready.
Yeah.
If you know how to use that tool, it'll work. The best way though is the water method. I think that's the best way.
What's the time on the water method?
I mean, time to boil the water or get the water hot is the main thing. Like reheating time. I mean, 20, 30 minutes is good to go. Done it in a crock pot too. You know, put the meat,
Yeah,
put the
that
bag in
takes
the
a
crock pot.
long
It
time.
takes longer for a crock pot to heat up.
Yeah.
But I've done it in it.
Um,
Done it on the grill. Sometimes you got to reheat it on the grill, and I would just for that I usually would put it in an aluminum pan, put the meat in there. You can leave it in the bag or take it out of the bag, put foil over that, and stick it back on your pit and let the pit warm it up. And it's going to take, you want to keep it 250, 275 and let it slowly heat up. But the key is to serve it, you've got to get it back to 140 degrees. That's the recommended serving temperature on like pulled pork or something like that.
Yeah.
So follow those food safety guidelines.
I disagree. I don't like to put when I put it up. I don't like to put it up in big chunks. I
You like to go ahead and pull it?
I like to go ahead and pull it. I go ahead and season it, sauce it. If we're talking pulled pork,
Oh, you're doctored already.
I'm doctoring it right there, and then I'm gonna package it up so it's ready to go as soon as I cut it out of
Yeah.
the bag.
So you're adding the juice to it and the flavor.
I'm
Because I
adding-
like to keep it whole because it keeps more moisture inside it.
That's
my thinking.
That's really a good point.
Yeah.
And then you pull it out and you pull it then.
Yep.
Does it not take longer to get warm in larger chunks?
Yeah, because it's denser.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit longer. Now, yeah, because your pulled stuff, you can have it in seconds,
Mm-hmm.
back ready to go. Doesn't take long at all.
Yeah. I guess you do lose a little moisture if you're doing
That goes
it
for
way.
like pulled chicken, stuff like that too. You can do it the same way.
What
Now, when I
about
do turkeys, I always vacuum seal them up whole and reheat them whole, and that way you can slice
when
them
you
and
mean
stuff.
turkeys? You mean
Like if I was doing whole turkeys and
A whole turkey?
when we vacuum seal them,
Yeah.
use those expandable bags, put it in a metal pan, like a half pan, put it inside the expandable bag and then suck it tight. It'll pull all the air out of that and hold the turkey. Chickens, it'll do the
cool
same
it
thing.
completely before you?
You always got to cool. You got to let it sit there and cool.
Yeah. For everything, don't you?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't?
It's not going to seal. It's not going to pull down as much. It's going to, as it cools, it's going to create pockets in there. I guess what that warm stuff has still got steam coming off of it, so it's working against the bag. And that's why it does it.
It can
But it's
make-
always best to let it cool down. I mean, don't seal it straight off the grill for sure, but let it sit there for a good 30, 45 minutes and rest.
when you vacuum seal them turkeys, the pan you got that turkey in, a
Oh,
lot of times
It'll suck it up. I mean, it gets all the air out of it. But man, it makes it for reheating a turkey.
how do you?
It's
reheat
just as
turkey?
juicy. I do take that one out of the bag and reheat it. I open it up, put it in a new pan. I usually pour a little bit of the juice when I've cooked it in that pan, so there's some moisture that I can add back to the pan to warm it up in, and then pop it in the oven with foil over it, and then watch it. It usually takes, depending on like the size of the turkey, it could be anywhere from hour and 45 minutes to 2.5 hours reheated, not super, not like 350, like 300.
Yeah.
But you just want to get it back to 140 degrees. And it's dense, so it takes a little bit.
What about ribs?
I've never tried the sous vide method on ribs. I don't see why it wouldn't work. It's just normally if I'll do ribs, I'll wrap them up in plastic wrap and then wrap them in aluminum foil and then put them up. And that way, when you reheat them, you can just reheat them right in the foil. And the plastic wrap keeps everything nice and tight. You get all the juice that stays in there. And then because it's not going to melt either. And I just pop them on a sheet pan or either on the grill, about 325, and let them heat up. Usually 45 minutes, they're good to go, ready to serve. You can unwrap them, and if you want to reglaze them or re-get them pretty again, put a little rub on them or something, you could do that too right at the end. Just opened up for a few minutes, exposed to the heat and the air, and that'll work too. But ribs do really well like that, plastic wrap and then aluminum foil.
Most of the people I know that own barbecue restaurants use so much plastic wrap
Yeah,
when
they
they're
do.
storing and serving and catering and all that. And it doesn't melt, right?
No, it could take the heat.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would do at 500 degrees,
Yeah.
but it's not. You're not heating it at that hot. We're not.
So ribs, you can reheat them on the smoker too.
Yeah, same way. Just
Exact
put
same
them
way.
straight back in the full wrap on there, and heat them up, and then uncover them. You can reglaze them right on the grill. That's an easy way. You can char glaze them.
That's what I like.
That's one way I like to do it too, because I like, say if you had a grill and you could 2-zone fire it, have your grills warming up on the side, and then when they get good and hot, over on the direct heat side, take them out of that foil and put them over there, heat them up, spread some sauce on them, throw them meat side down, sauce on the back, flip them back and forth. They're ready to go. That's a good char glazed ribs, really good like that.
If you're reheating a lot of ribs, I'd say that's the way.
That's why, like, you got these rib fest or these big rib. That's a lot of times that's what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
They'll have cooked all these hundreds and hundreds or thousands of pounds of ribs. Then they've got those big event char griller grills with maybe grill grates or something on them, and they're just putting them on there, mopping them with a good sauce, turning them, mopping them with the sauce, and then going to the cut table. That's how they're reheating them, and they work. It works great like that.
Yeah, you get
You
that
can
charcoal flavor.
you can
too.
reheat them out of the foil. You just don't want to put that sauce on there too soon, like because the sauce is gonna caramelize real quick over direct heat. So if you've got a saucy rib or a real sweet rub already on it, just know that the time you give it exposed to direct heat is more chance it's going to burn. So you want to watch that. That's why I like leaving them in the foil off to the side and the cool zone, slowly coming up.
And then if you want to at the end, you might
Char glaze.
char them.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I
There's
remember.
something about that flavor that's good.
I know it is good. I remember one year at Memphis MA, we had to serve lunch for a group of people. We were catering lunch.
Yeah.
And we didn't have time to cook all the ribs, so we cooked them the day before, wrapped them up, cooled them down, put them on the. Anyway, the next morning we came in and was putting them on the pit to warm them up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the local TV station came by. I was like, "Y'all got meat on the grill this early? Let's get some footage." And they were getting this footage, and you were like, "That stuff's stone cold."
They thinking it was all freshly
Yeah.
cooked stuff. I remember that.
And you were just sitting there talking about it. Yeah, we got these ribs on it.
4 a.m. We went up early cooking. You got to give them a tail now. That's what it's all about. Especially down at Memphis May.
Yeah.
You know how much stuff gets cooked like that and reserved at those lunches? You couldn't get out there and feed 150 people ribs at, getting up that morning and cook them.
I imagine most catering stuff is
Reheated.
a lot of reheating. Barbecue is one of those things.
But so, I mean,
It reheats pretty well.
yeah, it's never as good. Like, I can tell. I can tell when I go to a restaurant and
Can
this
you?
is the day before's or, even, especially with ribs, they don't have a lot of holding power. A couple hours, that's about all you're going to get out of them. And then that's when they're the freshest. And then reheated rib, I don't care what you say, it's still going to dry out some. It has to. That's just how they are. Pulled pork, you can get away with it a little more. But if you know how good pulled pork is coming off the pit after it's rested a little bit and you glazed it and you're breaking it apart. There has never been a piece of reheated pork that's as good as taking a bite of it that first time you pull it out. There's never. I don't care what you say. You can taste it. It's like, I don't know if it's the fat or, the rendered juices out of the meat. Once you cool them back down, they just never get back there to that initial flavor that they had. I mean, it changes. The flavor changes when that pork, I guess it's the pork juices cool, and reheating them, it's not the same flavor. So, and I don't even think brisket is either. I mean, brisket's
Yeah, how do you reheat brisket? We didn't even
same
talk
way.
about that.
Same way. Reheat it all the same way. It's just how long does it take to get it to the warm temp.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could reheat a brisket. I mean, is it good sliced and reheated? Not as good as if you keep it whole, reheat it, and then slice it. But I mean, just however you easy. If you don't want to, you want to reheat it fast. It's faster when it's sliced, pre-sliced, and in a vacuum seal bag. But the one key thing to take away from this is that vacuum sealer is makes it key. And I don't care if it's a cheap food saver one or if you got a West or one of them expensive chamber vacs, the vacuum sealer really, really does work.
We've had the expensive ones.
I bet there are a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They all tear up. But I mean,
your favorite one's like a $50, $60 one you keep down at camp.
yeah, that's not even mine. That's one Martless brought down there and we were just using. But the reason why, so the one I had, I bought it at Sam's, and it's the older model food saver where you have to line up the edge and put it through the little groove. Well, the newer model one, or I don't know what model one that is that Mark has, it just has like a garage door. And you have to, like, you put your bag up there. There's no guiding it, getting it lined up. You stick it in, slam that door shut, and lock it down. And that's so easy to me, and just let it churn. Now, they're great for just doing stuff at the house. If you're trying to get a operation going where you got to seal multiple stuff, bag after bag after bag after bag, they're going to overheat. And that's what we've ran into. We've been running 3 or 4 of them, just overheating them. Because you're sealing so much stuff. If you're sealing, 300 bags of stuff, you're going to overheat them. But if you're just doing a pork butt or a turkey or something like that, it's not bad. Not bad at all on it.
Yeah, for home use.
Yeah.
So do you have to do anything special before or during the cook if you know that you're
going
planning to
warm it up
reheat
later?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I won't glaze if I'm going to know that I'm going to reheat it and serve it. I will cook it to where it's done, rested, everything you got to do to it, but I won't put it back on the pit and glaze it, like ribs, pork butt, even a brisket. If I was going to glaze a brisket, I'd wait and do it when I warmed it up. That way it's going to be fresher tasting if I warm it up and then put it back on the grill and then glaze it or char grill it or however you want to do it. It's going to make it seem like it's a lot fresher than it is by waiting. Now, if you seal it up with all those sauces and all that, if you heat it back too much and you got the heat too high, it's going to burn. I just think you get better flavor and better product by waiting to put the sauce or anything to it.
But have you?
That's why. That's why, like, if you buy Corky's ribs or anybody's ribs, they send you sauce with it to reheat and then put it on and set that. It's because it kind of brings it back some.
Yeah, everyone that we've ever ordered or gotten in the mail.
It's been like that.
Yeah, you basically glaze it yourself at home in the reheat process. Have you ever seen anybody like cook it halfway? Because we always get that question.
No, I would not do that. You're setting yourself up for food being in the danger zone too long. I mean, like, say if you cooked a turkey halfway and pulled it out, then you got to let it cool. Well, it's not even up to temp long enough to kill all the bacteria in it, and then you're going to refrigerate or freeze it. Then you're going to thaw it or just transport it back, and then you're going to try to reheat it. You're doing too much risk there. I would fully cook it, let it cool to a proper temperature to vacuum seal it, and then put it up. That's the best way to do it. Now, like I said, I don't vacuum seal the ribs. That's the one thing that I do plastic wrap just because of the shape of them. But everything else, I try to vacuum seal.
Oh, that vacuum seal. Key.
Maybe we need to try that. Vacuum seal some whole ribs and see how to reheat them. That'd be a good
Do a
test.
couple different methods and
see which one's the best. See which one reheats the best. That'd be a good little trial.
Yeah. Same thing with pulled pork.
Yeah.
We could do the same thing. And brisket.
Some tests.
To me, brisket's the hardest out of all those. It just dries out so easily.
Yeah, it does. That's why I say I don't like to slice the brisket before I get ready to serve it.
We've done that before.
Yep.
And it does make it easier when you go to serve it.
Yeah.
But
it definitely does, but I think you lose so much of the when you reheat it, you lose all the moisture and the pieces are dry. You always have to add like more beef broth or some kind of brisket mop or something to get your flavor back because it's just not the same. Those pieces want to dry out.
And once that moisture
Is it good?
releases-
It's pretty good, but it ain't the absolute best.
So this week you cooked butcher paper ribs for your YouTube
That's
video.
I did. I really just was wanting some good ribs to eat. That's the only reason why I did them. Because when we cook ribs to eat, we don't do all the glazing and
Most of the time,
all the stuff in the wrap and all, because that's more of a competition style, and you get tired of eating
you'll
ribs that
glaze them
way.
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
But you don't do the heavy, thick, sweet.
Most of the time, that when I eat a rib, I want a really good bark on the outside, and I like the drier style rib, which you get with butcher paper. But it's a texture thing, and so like for me, if I'm gonna cook the perfect slab of ribs to eat, stick burner pit because I'm burning real wood on it, and it's getting that authentic smoke. Now I used hickory wood. That tasted phenomenal. Got my smokehouse seasoned up. It smells like a smokehouse now after just a couple cooks.
It does. And in a good way.
In a great, yes. Yeah, like you walk in, if you've ever been to one of those restaurants, you walk in and you can just smell. That's the way the smell's starting to get. And you just can't get that not burning real wood.
Yeah.
And so it makes authentic barbecue. And is it Texas style? Yeah, I would say so, because when I first started seeing anything about wrapping something in butcher paper, I always thought butcher paper was like what you brought home from the grocery store. They wrap raw meat up in, or they had the freezer paper version that you could freeze meat in. That was butcher paper to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this. You would see people call it pink or peach butcher paper. And in Texas, they use it to wrap briskets. And I guess it probably comes from the German influence over there, those markets, like, the ones I like Kreitz Market and, Schmitty's and places like that, where those are old school barbecue institutions in Texas. I'm sure they brought some of that.
German origin.
They brought some of that market style to the brisket or to barbecue and started wrapping and stuff like that. I don't know if it's cheaper than foil.
That was one of my questions for you.
Probably not. I would think.
Depends on where you get it.
Yeah. Because butcher paper is pretty expensive. I mean, we have some that we've had labeled that we use, and it's not cheap. It's not a cheap product.
It does last a
long time. The advantage of it to me is when you wrap something in aluminum foil, it's steaming inside that full packet. You're trapping every bit of moisture, every bit of rendered fat. Anything you put in there is staying in that foil. So the meat's just kind of steaming, almost, roasting inside that package. Well, when you wrap it up in butcher paper protects it. Like it doesn't let it get overly smoked or, over too much heat on it. So you get some of that. But it also absorbs a lot of the moisture that's cooking out of the meat. And so it gets in the paper. The paper is kind of porous. And so it sponges it a little bit. It don't get all of it, but it gets a lot of it. And so it allows smoke to penetrate it a little bit. So you still get some smoke flavor. It protects your meat from drying out because it is holding that moisture against the paper, so it's not going to dry out as bad, which helps you. And it just makes a beautiful bark
Does it
on
help
the
it
outside.
tenderize like
You're going to get some because it is holding some heat in, being wrapped up, kind of tight, but it's not pressuring as much as it would, like breaking it down as much as it would as if it was wrapped up tight and full, or plastic wrap and full, some way like that. So I mean. Personally, I think it works fantastic, and it gives me the bark I want. Now, I've done it a couple different ways, especially when doing ribs. When we wrap ribs, usually they're going down in the full. We're kind of cooking them meat down the whole time.
Bone up, meat down.
Yeah, bone up, meat down. They're getting really tender. I mean, you're cooking them, you're breaking them down.
And essentially all your juices are running to the bottom, right?
Yeah. All the juice is pulling in the bottom. The meat's sitting down in it. It's cooking. You lose a lot of that seasoning that you worked hard to kind of build the bark on because you're putting it in so much moisture. And so it just kind of, steams it off a little bit. When you do it in paper, it doesn't do it as bad. Now, if you flip the meat over and go meat down in paper, you're going to get more of a wash off than you would, because you got to think that all the meat juice is coming to the bottom, trying to get in the paper from the bottom, but it's sitting in some of it. And so it's going to take some of it off too. So what I figured was if I go meat up, I preserve my bark. So that's, and usually that's how I've always, done ribs in there. Just go meat up with them if you really want that nice texture on top.
Yeah, to keep that bark.
Yeah. And I mean, you could season, and the ribs, you could season them anyway. Like most people think of Texas barbecue, they think of that pepper and salt crust. That's about all a lot of those places use, the old fashioned places. Well, I mean, being
Nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that. No, I love a good salt pepper rib, but I like some color on them too. I like to give my ribs that mahogany look, so I use some barbecue rub. I used my hot rub, kind of keeping away from the sugars a little bit. I wanted a little spice. I wanted some of that color, and I wanted that
It's
good
got a good savory note
Savory
to it,
note.
yeah.
That's what I like because it goes with the pork so good. I mean, when you're tasting it, first to me, you take a bite of it, you're probably smelling the smoke first because the meat's been smoked, and then you taste it, so you get a little bit of that hickory flavor, but then you get the pork, the real rich flavor, and then you get that balance from the salt and the pepper, a little bit of spice, a little bit of tingle, but not bad. It's not like it's a hot rib, and that flavor there to me is it's outstanding.
So when did you start playing with wrapping ribs in butcher paper? Like when did you?
I mean,
Well, first of all, did you always wrap your ribs?
yeah, we've always. Well, I mean, like when I used to cook on a backwoods, a water cooker, you don't have to wrap ribs.
Yeah.
And so that was
Well, did
times
y'all
we
wrap
get away
them?
from. We did because in comps we always wrapped because you're trying to get maximum flavor in there, and that allows you to add some richness by the butters, add the sweetness
And
from
get
your
that
honeys,
tenderness.
get the little peppery flavor from whatever version of a hot sauce you put in it, whether it's a pepper jelly or a tiger sauce or a rib candy or something like that that's got some heat to it. So we're putting all those elements in a competition rib. Well, I mean, eating rib at home, you don't really do that. And when you're wrapping butcher paper, you wouldn't want to put butter or the margarine or any of that stuff on them because it's just too much for the paper. It's going to sog out. The paper can only absorb so much. You're going
You're
to
working
mess.
against your whole
working
premise.
against it, yeah. And I've never honestly tried to do like a comp rib in butcher paper. I just didn't ever see the point in putting all that stuff because to me, I'm wanting to keep the bark that I've got the whole time.
Yeah. If you're using butcher paper, you're going for a different style rib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you'll cook, say they cook the briskets pretty much done, and they just wrap them at the very end. They're wrapping them to hold. So there's some people that do that with the butcher paper too. But the first place I saw is when you started seeing cooking shows showing, these Texas barbecue joints, and they would have stuff wrapped up in paper. And then Franklin came out with his first book and kind of showing the technique, that Texas style, how people used butcher paper. And I think that's when you first started seeing it kind of spread. There wasn't many places to buy it from. Like I think I got it from Amazon.
Yeah,
the
we
first
had to
times.
source it
Yeah.
when we started using it years ago.
Yeah, and I just had to buy the roll of it and hoping it was the right stuff because it wasn't a big thing, Now you're seeing people that come out with their own line of it. They even sell it like at Academy.
Yeah.
You can find it. I don't think it's in grocery stores yet. I hadn't seen it.
I don't know. I mean, they got
But I
pellets
wouldn't-
and
But I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing
Yeah,
it, like
me too.
especially in the grilling section, like Reynolds or one of these other companies that would come up. It's people that make a parchment paper. I don't know why they don't make a butcher paper for grilling.
yeah.
Just call it
It's-
grilling
yeah.
paper or whatever.
I want to say that Reynolds did come out with a butcher paper.
They may
might have thought about that.
Yeah,
Like,
they may have. I don't know. I mean, since we sourced it from a
could-
company down in Florida, where pretty much everybody does that I know, and you have to buy like pallets of it. It's not like you can give me 10 rolls. I mean, you got to buy loads
Yeah.
of it.
But I mean, Traeger has their own. Grilla has
Yeah,
their own.
yeah, yeah.
All these grills
All have their
companies
own,
Have their
yeah,
own. You
yeah.
can buy them, and
I'm sure Camp Chef, Pit Boss, everybody's
Yeah.
got their own paper now.
um,
But it works, and I like using it, but I use it for other stuff too. I don't just use it for cooking. Like when meat comes off, I'll put it on a sheet pan and serve on it. You see that a lot of times out in Texas. They get the barbecue on trays. It's not all individually wrapped up. They serve it on like a sheet pan tray with butcher paper over it. I use it for prep. A lot of times I'll throw that out on my cutting board just to put meat on and stuff. So there's it's got other options other than just wrapping some meat on the grill. Where are we on the deadline for buying your turkey? Have you got it mapped out? Like you need to be buying it.
that is a good question. I'm unprepared.
I would say this weekend.
Yeah, I would say so too.
It needs to be by next Thursday, depending on the bird. I would want it in the refrigerator next Wednesday. If it was me.
You would want it in the refrigerator next Wednesday.
That's
to
going to give
do a
me
7 days.
You know what? I may push that to Tuesday
Okay.
because I got to brine it, not like a 2-day brine. So,
Well, you can brine and thaw.
24. Yeah, you can brine in 24. But you want to get all the giblets and the neck and all that stuff out. So I like it to be fully thawed, and then I like it to go in the brine. I have brined a frozen bird and pulled those out later.
But anyway, so yeah, if you want to get signed up for our community giveaway, go on to Let's Get to Cooking. Leave a comment on that post with your favorite Thanksgiving picture, and we're randomly going to pick 10 people.
How about it now?
You have till November 14th at 8:59 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Till when?
November 14th.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all are throwing. What's today? The 8th? Or we're recording this on the 8th.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess.
it ain't very many more days.
I know.
Y'all better buy your turkey this weekend. Is all I'm saying.
We need to make a post about that, like a PSA.
Yeah, because they buy that turkey.
Buy your turkey.
They're gonna think we're trying to like sway the turkey. buying.
We really should have some stock in the turkey industry.
You only need it like temporary. It's like short stock or something. You're gonna buy this and you're gonna keep it for this time, and then you go dump it. You got to sell it high because this is where they're gonna get all their sales, and then that's it. What do you think the turkey people do the rest of the year? Just turn it into deli meat or something?
Oh yeah, I guess. Oh, I imagine they're stockpiling.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Don't
they do
you
sell a
think
lot
some of those birds have been frozen for months?
I don't know. Probably because I don't know how long.
Do you think they wait and process all those birds like a
Imagine-
month before
Imagine it's like
October?
August, September. I don't know. Maybe we need to find somebody in the turkey industry that can talk turkey to us.
Because I've just assumed that they start killing them like in May and are
Yeah.
just freezing them.
I mean, so there's turkey year round. I mean, people use ground turkey a lot. It's healthier, and you see it. But I mean,
Come on.
how often? I mean, if
Aside from sandwich meat,
I would say
really?
most of it's bought sandwich meat, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I don't cook a lot of ground turkey. It's probably better for me than ground beef, but
We do, but it depends on like what you're cooking it in. Because like ground turkey tacos, like that kind of stuff, not a huge fan of. But
yeah,
We've done turkey spaghetti.
yeah,
It's okay.
something with a lot of flavor, usually like chili. Like we've made a ground turkey chili that's pretty good. So
Same thing with deer. It's harder to make.
nah, you're wrong about that. Deer goes substitutes well for any of that stuff.
But yeah, nobody's buying turkeys outside of,
Whole turkey.
yeah.
And how many do you think they sell? That's probably something you can Google. How many turkeys are sold on average in a
How many
Thanksgiving season?
turkeys are sold in Thanksgiving?
What's your over under, Tyler?
Okay, I got a number. Per the USDA.
Yeah, whole turkey.
Do we want to guess?
to?
Give me a number.
100 million.
Oh wow, it's half that, 46 million.
Okay.
I was thinking I would have guessed like 5.
Well, I was just thinking number of people, how
Yeah.
many households, but yeah, a lot of the households are 4, so that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Off my 100, yeah, I'd have been. That's not bad though.
that's
That's a lot of turkey.
The United States produced more than 5 billion pounds of turkey last year, with more than 4.8 billion pounds of that meat being consumed domestically.
It's a lot of
Dang.
bird.
Yeah, that's 5 billion pounds of turkey.
It's crazy.
I can't even, think about how much that is. So I wanted to ask you questions and get your feedback on cooking in rain and bad weather. And actually, this topic was suggested to me by somebody that came to the meet and greet,
Okay.
Welded Horn on Instagram. So okay, can rain change your barbecue cook?
I think the humidity does in a lot of grills. I've noticed it where things seem to take longer to get done. They don't want to, whenever you're trying to render all the fat and the juices out of some meat, get it done. Whenever the humidity changes outside, it does something to it to where it can, I've seen things take a lot longer to get through that stall. I've seen them be done, normally we're thinking something might be done around 205, 210. It might be done at 200 that time because of the different barometric pressure changes. I've seen all kinds of things.
Has it ever
happen.
affected you personally at a barbecue cook?
More so like life or death situation than affecting the meat.
You're not worried about the meat.
Yeah,
at
I'm
that
not.
point.
I'm not worried about the meat most of the time. Most of the time, it's are you going to get blown away or is lightning going to get you? That's the biggest thing to me. When I think of cooking in bad weather, I'm thinking of the contests I went through. That's we've had hurricane warnings where we've had to take cover and leave stuff or just hide. We've had severe thunderstorms where we've had to hold down tents in the middle of a massive storm. I mean, there's just been, we've had wind and we've had extreme temperature drops. There's been, we've went through a lot of stuff. I mean, Most of the time, the rain doesn't like. I like it when it rains a little bit. Not storms, but when it rains a little bit, our meat tends to really lock right in and do what I want to do with it. But it's those drastic changes and stuff that can mess you up. Especially if you're cooking on stick burners or pits that are real wind dependent, or the conditions. Like when we cooked on Old Hickory, it wasn't that much of a difference because it's a really controlled environment. But if you're cooking, depends on what kind of pit you're cooking on, if it's gonna really affect it a lot. Sometimes you might. I mean, sometimes if it storms, it's gonna knock some people out because they're just out there in the elements anyway. And I don't mind seeing that sometimes. Level that playing field.
Typically, those people that are out in the elements aren't. They've only cooked a few contests. Yeah.
I shouldn't say I like to see that. I know if it's storming out there and I'm in my trailer and somebody's in a tent, I got a little advantage.
Yeah.
Is that bad? I've been out there in the tent. It sucks. Have it everything blow away, and you're standing out in mud.
Mark swears when it rains, he wins.
Yeah, he likes it when it rains.
Yeah,
too.
he feels like it's lucky for him.
There's a lot of people that like it when it rains a little bit.
Yeah, you said
a little bit, not a lot of bit.
Yeah. You said holding down tents. It's like there's a storm coming. Let's grab this big metal rod.
You have to sometimes. There was a time where it was me and Justin's wife Nicole. Everybody else, I don't know where y'all were, or you weren't even there that contest. Waylon he runs for his life whenever there's a chance of any kind of tornado or anything. And I don't know what Justin was doing. He must have been with Waylon. We got stuck at the trailer and was trying to hold that thing down
during the storm.
She weighed 98 pounds, and I'm over there just giving it all I got on a ratchet strap to keep it from blowing off. And I was like looking at the car, and you're just soaked. I'm talking about you can't get any wetter if you jumped in a swimming pool. And man, it was miserable.
So I've been trying to find ways to incorporate, the two together. I always try to find new ways. So I've started doing this show in LA in my neighborhood at this really cool rock and roll venue. Once a month, I put like 4 or 5 of my really funny friends on the show. I host it, and I cook barbecue and sell barbecue out the back of the room. So comics get to eat my barbecue. The audience members come early to get barbecue, and then we have an awesome comedy show. I bet if we could figure out the numbers, I bet we could do like a yearly thing where it's like the How to Barbecue Right comedy show, and we do a big cook. Yeah, we do a big cook. Yeah. My friend, we I'm sure we could get an Airbnb down here, or we could house them, throw a big party. The comics, will be Instagramming and having a blast doing all this barbecue stuff, and then they get to do a show too. We could figure it out.
If we can find a venue, we can make that happen, man.
Yeah.
We got
a venue right here, man. This
you
works
think
fine.
That room's big enough?
I mean, I don't know. That's why I said we got to do the numbers.
Yeah. See, we're going to need your help on that.
All right.
The barbecue, I got. You don't worry about that. We just need to find a spot, and then we'll work the numbers out.
I got to tell you, I'm going to kiss your butt a little. I'm going to pander to the hosts, okay? People asked me that tour I did, that 2-month tour. They said, what was the best barbecue you had that whole time? And I go, I'm not even going to because they're asking me to pick my favorite restaurant, basically, along that tour.
First off, how many places did you go?
It's been a while, but I think it ended up being like 20 to 25.
Wow.
Yeah. Like you said, though, they weren't all restaurants, But I will say I will pinpoint it to the best bite I had. And that was right here. You did a bone out beef rib, I think, right?
Yep.
And sliced it up. It's a little bites, and then
there's Wagyu though.
Oh yeah, and you had the tallow, and you drizzled the tallow over it, and that one, I mean, it just hit so hard. I go, this was the best thing I had this whole tour. I knew it in the moment. It was so good.
That's amazing. That was some good stuff. I can't take all the credit for that. I think Mark cooked it that day.
Mark did a lot of work that day.
But I will take the credit. So.
Mark was working hard that day. Yeah,
we had him working. But we did melt down the tallow on the pit. Like we just kept it on the pit and let it, just liquefy.
I'd never done it before. That's when I learned about doing the beef tallow on the smoker.
Well, let's talk about. So, how did you get into barbecue? Because folks, you're from Florida.
I grew up in Miami, Florida. Yeah.
But now you're West Coast.
I've been in LA about 10 or 11 years. Back then, when I was, coming up through comedy and really taking it serious and everything, everyone said, you got to eventually move to LA or New York. It has to happen if you want to make, it's very hard to make it from anywhere else. I mean, yeah, there are some outliers, but it's not typical, Now, that's not the same advice. Now you could do it from there's so many different comedy scenes around the country. You could catch lightning in a bottle with a podcast or YouTube, and You just got to be able to have an audience, you know? But there's still some benefits for being in LA and New York. I mean, it's the big leagues. You can get up every night and be on awesome shows and just work on your material and, you know? And sometimes you're a little bit out of sight, out of mind. So just being there and running into the people who produce stuff and whatever is definitely beneficial, you know?
What do you think the number one thing is people screw up and why brisket's hard for them?
Because they want to look at a number on that thermometer,
And time.
and you can't do it. I mean, I use that as a guide, and people say this all the time. Temperature is just a guide. Time's just a guide. At that point, time is not a guide for brisket, in my opinion. Time does not make a bit of difference. I mean, yeah, it needs time in the pit, but you have to go off feel, and you have to know, like, a choice grade. It's only going to go to about 202, maybe 205, but it's not going to go much further. It's going to be over. You know, prime, you can take it up a little bit further. You know, you learn that and learn the feels of the quality of brisket. And I've got to a point now that, like, cooking these competition briskets, I can look at a brisket when I'm trimming it and I know about what I'm going to push it to every time. And, like, when we were in Galax, me and Jay both looked at the brisket in the trailer before we injected it, and we both spit out a number and a time, and we kind of agreed on it. That's what we went to. And
Comes with doing.
That comes with doing it.
Yeah.
That's many briskets cooked, but I think it's people get in a hurry. They try to push that brisket. Well, I need to go to 198. That's what this recipe says. Well, it's going to be tight, or it might be over. And a lot of these temperatures really don't matter because we're cooking on stick burners. So we're going to push them a higher temperature than what somebody says cooking on a WSM or a backwoods or a lower temp. You're not going to cook that a pellet grill. If you're cooking low and slow, the finish temp's not going to be as high as what it is if you're cooking over 300 degrees.
Why?
Because it's the amount of time it's in the stall. The stall is what makes it tender. So anywhere from that 175 to 195, the amount of times in that stall is what makes it tender. So if it's going to be in that stall period a lot longer, your finish temp's going to be a lot lower. When we're cooking hot and fast, we push right through that stall. We have to push it further to render the fat. We'll still get it tender, but you're not going to render the fat.
Same concept with like a sous vide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you can hold it in that lower temperature longer, it'll get done.
Correct. That's the reason those overnight pork butts and those overnight briskets on that pellet grill at 200 degrees are so dang good, you know, because it's in that stall. You're rendering everything. And once we kind of learned that when we went to hot and fast is we were trying to take it to the same temp as what we were when we were cooking low and slow, and you can't. It doesn't work. It might be tender, but if you notice, you'll get like especially on some of these Wagyus, you'll get a waxy feel because it's a lot of fat in that brisket slice that has not rendered. And now, like when we slice them, we're taking them way past 210. Like we're pushing the wheels off these briskets.
What's the highest you've taken one?
214.
That's the highest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you were cooking hot and fast.
Cutting hot and fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of that too, and we talk about some videos where you're at. You know, if you're in Galax, Virginia, or if you're 3,000 feet ish, you're not going to see 214 on the brisket. Even if you are, it won't do it. 207 is all you're going to see. Galax, my brisket went to 207, and it never comes off that low.
What do y'all think's better? Like, what's your own personal opinion? Hot and fast, low and slow? If you're going to cook a brisket,
low and slow is always better to me. Always. There's no, just because, like Mark said, it gives time for that fat to fully break down, keep the meat juicy. A babysitter one, if you got time to do it and cook it 17 to 20 hours and then let it rest on top of that, it's hard to beat. But nobody's got that. They're not cooking competition briskets.
Yeah.
Like that, you know?
Is that just why you do hot and fast? Is because it's
time thing? Yeah.
Time thing, and I don't think a low and slow would work for our recipe.
Yeah.
In competitions. In fact, I know it won't. There's no possible way. But the reason we do it is time. I like my sleep. So I get my sleep and I put on late in the morning and shove them, push them on through there. But hot and fast has its purpose. For competition wise, there's a different feel. There's a different texture you get on hot and fast than you'll get on a low and slow, especially on pork and brisket. You don't notice it as much on ribs or chicken, but pork and brisket, you definitely notice a different texture, a different mouthfeel that is very pleasant that judges seem to like. And you may back this up, is our old rib recipe, we had a timeline and we kind of knew when them ribs would come off when we were cooking 200, 225, 250. That recipe there has not changed at all going to hot and fast. And I guess because the ribs lay so flat in the pit that it's really not in that hot and fast environment like you think it is, whereas a pork butter brisket stands up in that pit, so it's higher in the pit and it's hotter. Our rib timeline has not changed a bit, but all our other products have. Chicken hasn't changed a bit. We still cook the same amount of time at 300 as we did when we were at 250.
Yeah,
But
I've
the
always
big
cooked chicken
meats have
fast, yeah.
changed.
I mean, to me, 300 is perfect for chicken anyway. But it's been, I mean, it probably would change if you were cooking like 225 to 250 slower.
Yeah, maybe.
But we ain't cooked pork at those temps, and I couldn't tell you.
Well, y'all used to start y'all's out low and slow, and then y'all would move it over to dry heat and bump it up, you know, once you wrap it.
We were cooking on when we cook on backwoods, we kept it that low. But you were looking at a 6 to 7 hour rib then, sometimes 8. Now we cooking ribs in 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it definitely sped it up some. I don't know. I think the biggest thing is that competition is so different cooking than what you're going to cook at home. I mean, you're not going to take a Wagyu brisket and cut it down to where it's a 8.5 by 11, sheet of paper size.
I remember
and cook just that flat, just for those slices.
Shell gave me such a bad look that first time.
I remember the first time we saw that, somebody was like, they just took a $250 brisket and cut it down to $50.
Yeah. I mean, for real, that's what you do. That cooking that same way that you cook that brisket would not work for a whole packer brisket. It's got to be trimmed like that. It's got to be cut down, and to cook it in that amount of time, the way you want to cook it for the box. I mean, you're cooking it to get perfect slices, to get 7-8 slices to go in a box, and for it to be one bite. I mean, that's the whole total thing.
And the video y'all did was more
eating brisket. It was straight up eating brisket. And so we changed that, and you could have cooked the competition brisket way faster than we cooked that brisket in that video.
We are averaging less than 4 hours on a comp brisket.
Yeah, see, that's so crazy to me that you can cook a brisket.
But how long do you let it rest? Or is that including the rest in it?
No,
too?
no, I'll let it rest at least 2.
Yeah.
That's the bigger thing and that's something, a lot of people out there is like, well, I can't, I've been to, Franklin's Barbecue, I've been to Terry Black's, and I can't get that brisket. You're not resting. These guys are resting these briskets 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah.
They're holding them in a proofing oven, running them at 150, 170, whatever temp, and they're cooking those briskets the day before and holding them all night. And that is game changer. So it's hard for you to do at home because most ovens won't go down low enough, and then any other method is going to be too low. So you have to have something to do that. Now, I've done it in the oven. I've set it at 170 and actually set it in a pan and kind of shielded it, and it's been fine.
How long did you hold it like that?
12 hours.
In the oven like that?
And it's
Did it make a big difference doing that?
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
Really?
When you talk about
texture of it,
texture, moisture, like that brisket we cooked was excellent. I could only imagine how good that brisket would be if we'd have done that. Because we always talk about like fats and flavors and moisture redistributing through that meat. It truly does at that point. And it gives it time just to chill out. And I mean, I've done it before in a sous vide. I've cooked a brisket, put it in a sous vide, lightly vacuum sealed it because you don't want to put it in an unnatural state. You don't want to vacuum seal that cooked brisket all the way down because it's not meant to be that way. I lightly vacuum seal it, put it in a sous vide at 150 and let it go. And it is fine. It is so good.
So it's fully cooked and then goes, you're just holding it?
Just holding it in the sous vide.
Yeah. What did it do to the outer bark and stuff? Did it all get wet?
Nothing. But I always put back on.
Oh, okay. You put it back on, dry it out.
So I always put back on, and I always do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not that big a deal. Now, if you was to leave it in butcher paper and do that, I don't think you would lose any of your bark.
Yeah.
This was completely out and just in a vacuum seal bag. But I think if you was to do that in a butcher paper, it couldn't do nothing but get
You've
better.
got some good tests there. I'd like to see what a brisket would be like. Like cook it like we did. You got it ready to slice, but you had one the day before that had been holding some. Maybe one was in the oven, held the best you could. Maybe one was in a sous vide, and then slice them all at the same time, and see if you could tell the difference.
They
I guarantee you would.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
It's unreal. Yeah. And I've actually had a guy reach out a couple weeks back, actually to our company email, and was like, "Hey, I'm wanting to rest a brisket long. What's the safe way to do it?" And like I got with him, and we got to talking. They do make countertop proofing ovens, Amazon has them, and they're not outrageously expensive. And I'm like, I almost want to buy one.
Well, what's not outrageously expensive?
I mean, it's
kinda
like
wanna
a
buy one
couple $100
too.
bucks.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
it's
Well,
not.
they have woman drawers. You see them in outdoor kitchens all the
Yeah.
time. They
Yeah.
put them below grills. You know,
Oh, that's a good thing.
and
Yeah.
then, and it's just a controlled heat. It's no different than having like a steam table that
Yeah.
you can control the temp on. I know. I mean, just from experimenting we've done, I've left a probe in. I don't know if it's a brisket or butt. You remember
was
when we
a
did it in the
butt.
color? And
Yeah.
we watched it just to see how long it would stay in the safe zone above 140
You're saying
we
we
were
put it in a cooler.
in just a cooler. Like it was a
Yeah.
Yeti, I think.
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't-
It was one of those cheap island
Yeah.
island breezes.
Oh, was it really like okay?
Yeah.
Well, it was 8 hours.
Yeah.
It was in there.
And we watched the temp. Yeah.
You got tired of keeping up with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to look. You can hold it a long time if it's wrapped up and you got the space took up inside a dry cooler like that.
I mean,
I mean, I would say leave a thermometer in it though.
yeah.
So you know.
I think once you figure out resting proteins, it completely changes your whole cook process. You know, I mean, we've done that with ribs. I mean, how many times have we changed? Like we went through and cooked ribs back to back to back and held them at different hours to
Oh
figure
yeah,
out
that's
which
how
one.
that's kind of how we got to where we with our technique now.
So, I mean, but you don't want to rest those ribs in a good cooler. I mean, you know, they discontinued our party stack.
That's what we talked about last. I think Tyler told us that, or someone, or Chill did.
So now they've become, I need all mine back.
I got a couple at the house. No, we just need to develop the How to Barbecue Right rib cooler.
Yeah, there you go.
But
I don't know
it's-
why they would just. That was such a great cooler.
I don't think
Nobody
nobody
used
was
it.
using it for drinks.
Coolers,
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know,
They're kind of impractical for actual icing down drinks.
Yeah.
We've used them before, but
they'll get you by.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no great way to tote it around either.
Yeah.
It's kind of just got this molded little.
Yeah, you can't even
grill.
hold it.
Yeah,
But it's a heck of a rib.
it's a heck
rester.
of a rib rester. Yeah, or brisket rester.
Yeah,
That's what I like about it.
I think I enjoyed that video and that recipe. That was, I mean, I learned something that day. You know,
What'd you
Yeah.
learn?
two things that really the hardest part to me that I think I struggled with that day in that video, and we talked about it a little bit, is tipping the briskets and keeping the moisture off the top
From pooling.
from pooling.
So explain that. When you
So
baste.
No, it's natural juice.
it's
a lot of it.
natural juices. So a lot of times trimming a brisket, and you'll see these Texas restaurants are really good about it, and they've figured out the way to make it easy on them, I think. But usually when you're cooking a brisket, it's not going to cook. You can trim it and make it pretty, but once it goes in that heat, it's going to change its shape. You're going, parts of fat's going to render faster than others, so it might make a little divot, and that little divot's going to create a little juicy fat pond, is what it is.
Yeah.
And it'll mess your bark up, so you're not going to get the color there. So you constantly have to kind of keep that moisture off of it. And, a lot of guys will take some of their brisket trimmings and put underneath that brisket to where it domes up. But to me, that changes when you start slicing, it completely changes the appearance of that brisket.
Mhm.
So we would get in there and we would just tip it and just grab one side of it, tip it up, let the juice run off, put it back down, put a little bit more rub on it and roll on. But I think there's an art to that. I think these guys that do this every day know how to trim that brisket to prevent that. So they're changing. I think they're shaping that brisket better. I think they've cooked enough to where they know it's going to do that and they correct it on the front end.
Yeah.
Because if you're cooking, some of these guys cooking 100 briskets a day, you're not out there fighting that every day on 100 briskets.
No,
I
I don't
you
know.
tip a few of them, but
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think they care.
I think it matters though. I think
So.
especially
By the time you're holding that thing for 10 hours, you think it matters?
But they're also something we did different. A lot of these Texas style pits are not doing is we wrapped way sooner than what some of these guys would. They might run 7 or 8 hours before they wrap, but they're not cooking.
A lot of them will wrap before they actually even put them in hold. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Like
pretty
they
much
wrap
cooked
for
on
the
the
stall.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
You're saying they don't wrap until they put them in the hole?
until it's going to
Okay.
hold. Yeah, it's been on that pit all day. Or all
but this
night.
goes back to the pit you're cooking on, how much you're cooking. We had one brisket in that pit. That pit could have easily
Oh
handled
yeah,
more. And you'll learn a lot of these stick burners and most any pit other than a pellet grill, I would say, the more you put in it, the better it's going to cook. So you think these guys got 1,000-gallon pit that's loaded up with briskets? That's going to be a good brisket, and it's not necessarily, it's because the pit's full. There's enough moisture in the air from all that meat cooking and it's a gentle cook.
You want it full, but not crowded.
Right. You want
That's-
airflow.
I've noticed that on the pits I cook on, that they cook better. I get better product on some of the, especially the bigger pits, when I've got them, at or near capacity, but not just jammed where air can't flow. Because exactly what you said, you get that evaporative cooling of the meat where it's the juices going out, it's mixing with the smoke, and it's making a perfect environment. Air's flowing right in it, and the meat just cooks better.
Mr. Charlie, Emily's daddy, cooked those ribs last week, or I think it was last week before last. And he's never done this. He had to cook for an event at his church. He cooked 68 slabs of ribs, and he come borrowed our old hickory rotisserie. He got done. He said, that was the best rib I've ever cooked. And he's like, it was amazing. He said, and I was like, well, I said, you had the pit full. I said, they're in there basting each other on that rotisserie. And I was like, it's hard to beat. I mean, it's hard to beat ribs that way.
It is.
No wrap, no nothing. But again, the pit was loaded correctly. It was enough moisture in the cook chamber. And that's a game changer, in my opinion. I mean, we've noticed that, if you cook 4 slabs of ribs on one of these big outlaws, it's not going to cook quite as good as if you had 12 slabs of ribs on there. And I think that's a lot of times where some of these guys are running water pans. I'm guilty of it. I put a water pan in there now. If I'm only cooking a couple slabs or small protein, I'm going to put a little water pan in there just to add some humidity